and Sydney.
What do you think makes someone an Australian of the Year?
It's people who show courage, sacrifice and kindness.
Now's the time to reflect.
On your community.
And who you admire.
Now's the time to respect.
By nominating and acknowledging them.
Now's the time to celebrate.
Their story, their contribution and their generosity.
I'm Hamish McDonald, and I'd love you to nominate an inspirational Australian who you think is worthy at australianoftheyear.org.au.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
A spot inside the top four is on the line this afternoon as Port Adelaide hosts Sydney at the Adelaide Oval. The Power are desperate for a win against another top 8 side with a record of 1-4 this season, while Sydney will be hoping their bye gave them enough time to rebound from a disappointing loss at home to the Hawks on a Friday night football. There has been a late change as well. Hamish Hartlett is out with a hip flexor, so Martin Frederick comes in for his 5th game of the 21-year-old for Port Adelaide. So 3 changes for the Power. Dylan Williams to make his debut. Todd Marshall also coming in. The outs for them, Lockie Jones, Peter Adams and Robbie Gray. Meanwhile for the Swans, no late changes for them. So just the 2 changes in terms of their overall side. Errol Goulden and Caden Brand comes in. Lewis Taylor, Logan McDonald and Sam Wicks out with suspension. Aaron Bryans with you to call the action here at the Adelaide Oval. Alongside me, as always, is Neil Cross. Welcome, Crossy.
Aaron, great to be here. Uncertain yet again what we're going to see. Port Adelaide, obviously well publicised. Their record not great against top 8 sides this season. And this, as you've mentioned, battle between 5th and 6th. So very interesting game in prospect.
Surprisingly, at the moment, it's pretty good conditions as well. About 20 minutes ago, there was fairly heavy rain. The sun is out. There's still a lot of clouds in the sky, so we hope that it stays clear for the Power fans in attendance. Your experts this afternoon here at the Adelaide Oval. Firstly, Carlton Premiership player Scott Camporelli. Welcome back, Campo.
Thanks, Aaron. Crossy and Steve. Yeah, interesting. I know this is another top 4 clash, but you're probably not putting Sydney in the upper echelon of the teams that are probably going to play in the finals. So this is a great opportunity for Port to really put their foot down at this time of the year.
It's a surprising fact that Sydney have beaten Brisbane, Richmond, Geelong, some really big-name teams, but they've also had losses to the Suns, the Hawks and Fremantle, so not really sure where they're at the moment, and today's contest might give us a bit of a clearer picture. Alongside Scott Camporelli, Port Magpies Premiership player and coach Stephen Williams. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Aaron. Crossy, Scotty, good to be back, and yeah, looking forward to it. As you said, it's a test for Port. The Swans have some big scalps this year, and they were playing some really exciting and different style of footy than we're used to Sydney playing. Dropped off a little bit over the last few weeks. Disappointing last game before the bye against the Hawks, but a danger game for Port, so it's going to be interesting to see how this one pans out.
The text line, if you'd like to get in touch with us this afternoon, 0437 774 774. That's 0437 774 774. The medical subs for this afternoon as well. Sam Mays for the Power, Nick Blakey for the Swans. The starting benches, Bergman, Georgiades, Drew and Frederick for Port Adelaide. For Sydney, Rowbottom, Florent, Bell and Dawson. In terms of heading into this contest, a lot of the talk around the town for Port Adelaide has been yet another big injury for them. So Robbie Gray missing after a knee injury, an MCL, so he'll be out for a significant period of time. And the question starts to become how many is too many for Port Adelaide?
Yeah, it's always... They've had a pretty good run, Port, to be fair, over the last 18 months. So you've got to strike while the iron's hot, Steve, don't you? So last year they had hardly any. They were probably the best performed team in that sort of category. But unfortunately, they're not, once again, they're not soft tissue injuries. So it's nothing to do with the program. It's essentially, they've all been game contact injuries, which has really hurt them. But particularly, we've spoken a lot about Butters and Dersmer and these guys. But Robbie Gray's just a bit of cream inside that forward line. Rosie's now starting to get back into a bit of form. And Robbie Gray's had a pretty good year up till now, but yeah, it's going to be hard for him, I think, moving forward.
Yeah, he's a guy that Ken Hinkley goes to, isn't he? When things aren't working, he can go through the midfield, can do that freakish thing up forward. Dylan Williams gets an opportunity. First game, I saw him kick 6, I think it was last week, against the Blues at Albert, and yeah, looking forward to it. He's a classy left footer, so a real opportunity for him today to put his flag in the ground.
The key storyline for the Swans, we're on buddy watch this afternoon, so he's 1 goal away from tying Jack Titus for the 6th overall goals, 970 in VFL AFL history. So if he kicks 2, he moves into outright 6. So we'll be on Franklin watch this afternoon here at the Adelaide Oval as Port Adelaide hosts Sydney. The Power winning the toss, so they're kicking to the southern end as well to kickstart this game. Round 15 action at the Adelaide Oval. Earlier today, Fremantle defeating Collingwood by 12 points. North Melbourne defeating Gold Coast by 9 points in that contest. And earlier in the round, Brisbane defeating Geelong by 44. St Kilda defeating Richmond by 40. Neil Cross to kick things off here at the Adelaide Oval. It's Port Adelaide and Sydney on Grandstand AFL.
Expect anything this afternoon. You just never know. Port Adelaide sitting in 5th position. The Swans in 6th. And here we go with the bounce of the ball. Cool conditions, probably a bit slippery underfoot after the rain earlier. Comes out of the middle through Boak and Wines for Port Adelaide down to half forward from Burton. Swans come in around the ball, and just as expected, it's a little bit slippery. Cunningham goes to ground for the Swans, and eventually they crowd in, and we'll get a bounce near centre wing on this broadcast side of the ground.
Connor Rosie, the last man off the bottom of the pack there. Lice it back into the ruck, wins the tap down for the Power. Straight to Wines, threw it on the boot, but it was smothered. Straight up and down, it rolls towards right half forward. The Swans can cut it off. Chain of hand passes to Hewitt, who's caught in the tackle from Boak. Dropped it over the boundary line, holding the ball. Port Adelaide to receive it just short of right half forward.
Boak inboard with his kick straight away. Half volleyed that time by Burton. Quickly onto the foot, and he goes down to half forward. Off hands it comes. Rosie was there. Makes the tackle on Cunningham with assistance from Farrell. And just outside the attacking 50 of the Power, will get a ball up.
On the reset, Hickey and Lysett once again battling. The Power win it down. Went straight to Mills, though. Hand pass dangerously to Kennedy. Tackled, the ball rolls into the 50 for Port Adelaide. Hewitt hand passes back. Cunningham threw it on the boot. Went as far as Powell-Pepper. Hand pass to Lysett, then Burton. They go back to the square. Now the Power through Amon can head into the 50, leading out Marshall. Took 2 grabs, but he got it. 35 from home, 45-degree angle to the left.
A really nice setup, wasn't it, from Lysett? Just a handball out the back, just to give Port Adelaide a little bit of space and time, and perfectly set up for the left foot of Amon, and he was able to put it out in front of Marshall. So first came back from concussion, so an opportunity for a good start for him and Port Adelaide.
12-4 for the year, Todd Marshall. The most goals he's kicked so far in his AFL career. In a season, that is. Marshall comes in, kicks from 45 towards home, never in doubt. The first goal of the afternoon goes the way of Port Adelaide, and it took 2 minutes to get there. The Power, 1 straight 6. The Swans yet to score on Grandstand AFL.
Well, that's been their Achilles heel, Steve, this year. Traditionally, Sydney have been a really top quality stoppage team, either being scores for or score against, and also winning that territory battle. But this year they've actually dropped away considerably. And this is the thing, Aaron, we spoke about this morning on the radio, is whether Sydney can actually hold Port Adelaide's stoppage game, particularly in wet, slippery conditions. But there was 3 really crisp handballs, and as you said, Steve, to a left footer in Amon, who's like a scalpel with that left foot, isn't he? And great start to Marshall. He'd be enjoying that.
Yeah, Marshall coming back, as Aaron mentioned, from concussion. Pretty clear-headed when he kicked that. So early lead for Port Adelaide. Ball back in the middle. Lysett opposed to Hickey. Hickey got a little touch on it. Winds out of the centre off the left foot. Goes out to the eastern side. Powell-Pepper just knocked it on. Fox came across and knocked it forward for the Swans, and then it was kicked off the ground, and the umpire said not enough intent in that. Hewitt took it over the line for the Swans, so Darcy Byrne-Jones will take the free kick for Port Adelaide, basically on centre wing. And he's just taking his time. He's checked inboard, nothing. And now it becomes available, and he's almost turned it over. Wasn't a great kick to Burton, who's coming up, I think, for his 4th possession already. Off the left foot was pretty good. Down the line, mark taken near the eastern boundary line by Houston.
Plenty of sun out on that side as well. Dan Houston heads into the 50 to the left forward pocket. Boat juggles it in the pack. Motlop takes it in the left forward pocket, plays on quickly, runs around on the right from 45. Stephen Motlop, too far left. It was curling home, but not enough. Minus score to the Power. 7 points, their lead. And travelled 4 minutes in the opening quarter on Grandstand AFL.
Not a good sign, is it, when a 5'11" guy can take a mark in the pack in the goal square for the Swans against the Swans? So that's a bit of a danger sign.
So Swans get it down to centre wing from the kick in. Lloyd played on, gave the hand pass out, and then it was on to Parker. Now Parker from the mark gives it to Cunningham, down to half forward, found Kennedy a little bit lucky. He gave it to Goulden by hand, and then Goulden came back to his left foot, spears the pass to the chest of Heaney. Boy, oh boy, we know the quality of Goulden's skills, and they were on display there.
Well, I looked forward of the ball, and this is the thing that's going to cost Port Adelaide at the end of the year, Steve. We'll watch the fair few games. Their defenders run back and they want to play proactive all the time. When the ball's got speed in it, they have to get body on the opposition. Once again, Lena, no body work at all. And so it just allows him to lead up at the ball.
Particularly when you've got a guy like Goulden that's a fantastic kick. It was almost the same as Amon inside 50.
Isaac Heaney, 1911 on the season, leaves it a bit right, too right, or rather left it was in the end, for the minor score. So the Swans' first score of the afternoon makes it a one-goal game. Port Adelaide captain Tom Jonas to bring the ball in.
Bad miss, isn't it, for a player of the ability of Isaac Heaney to miss that pretty easy set shot.
Jonas goes long down the corridor to the square. A pack awaits off a few hands. It's Phil Horse to ground, rather. A couple of Swans come in, hold it up. Ball up to come. Dixon at the bottom of the pack, a bit far from home. Now we just wait the reset. Hickey and Lysett once again do battle. Lysett with the tap down. McInerney tried to gather for the Swans, had a fresh airy, as did Farrell. The Swans can regather. Rowbottom pops it up towards left half forward. Nice kick, works for Florent. Takes it unopposed on the chest. He's about 70 from home. Florent plays on. Heads towards the right forward pocket. Hayward's waiting there. Couldn't take it. There's a free kick on the whistle for a hold. Sydney to receive it straight in front of goal. About 15 out. And it will go the way of Will Hayward.
We just panicked, Trent McKenzie. There was a swap over. Alier and McKenzie swapped over with Franklin and Hayward. And then McKenzie was standing in the goal square waiting for him. But then just as Hayward came back, he just engaged with the body and just both arms around him. It's free kick every day of the week.
So Hayward, who suffered a concussion in their last game, but playing thanks to the bye, comes in straight over the goal umpire's hat. Will Hayward gets Sydney's first, and scores are level. 6.5 gone in the first quarter. 1-1-7 apiece. Aaron Bryans and Neil Cross with you on Grandstand AFL alongside Scott Camporelli and Stephen Williams.
Having a good year, isn't he, Will Hayward? 13, that's his 14th goal for the season. He went through a little bit of a period in the last couple of years where he just dropped off, but he's been able to get back, get himself fit, and he really complements the other forwards in that Sydney 50.
Well, he got left out at the start of the year. He didn't play round one, and having spoken to Pikey during the week about some of the guys, he was really disappointed in not starting the year, and obviously there were some of the younger guys that either got drafted or they had a really good pre-season, but he's fought back really well.
Adelaide boy from North Adelaide as well. Hayward picked up with pick 21 back in 2016 by the Swans. So back in the middle, scores level. Hickey with a beautiful tap down. Mills comes around the back of him. Now off the left foot down to half forward. Frederick intercept mark. Hit him on the chest basically ahead of Florent. So he backs up for Port Adelaide.
A late change for Hamish Hartlett. Frederick runs across the half-back line. Nice kick, works favourably for Bergman. Hands it off a 1-2 with Amon. The hand pass received with a bit of a fumble. He got caught heavily as well. Meanwhile, there's a free kick off the ball. Rosie's been brought down without it. Free kick, maybe 50. The Swans kick the ball away. Umpires moving and bringing Rosie down. 15-metre penalty against the Swans. Connor Rosie's marched into the 50.
It was pretty obvious, wasn't it, that it was a Port Adelaide free, and Mills was the player that just continued to play on. Wasn't much in the free kick, mind you, but once the umpire paid it, you have to go by the whistle.
Cunningham will stand the mark about 35 from goal. 45-degree angle to the right for Connor Rosie, who's been in remarkable form. Comes in, kicks from 40. It's flat, but it's on target. Connor Rosie gets his first. Make that 9 goals from the past 3 games to Connor Rosie. And Port Adelaide again hit the front. 2-1-13 to 1-1-7. 9 minutes gone in the opening quarter on Grandstand AFL.
Well, they nearly butchered it. It was a great kick by Fredericks out of the back half. He played the game and he looked like he was going to go to Jonas, then pulled the kick back into the corridor or just onto the wing, and then they got into a handball chain. But it was still good pressure by Sydney to shut it down, but really silly by Mills to play on and give that 50-metre.
2-1-13, Port Adelaide, Sydney 1-1-7 goals for Port Adelaide to Marshall and Rosie. And Will Hayward, the only goal for the Swans. So travel now through 9 minutes. Umpire just waiting for everybody to be in their 6-6-6 and to get the all clear. And now he throws the ball in the air and Lycett comes in. Then Hickey again got the tap down. He's in good form, Hickey. He's a reasonable story in the AFL. He's been through 4 clubs and probably having a career best season as well with the Swans now. And they take it away from the middle and the secondary ball up. It was Mills down to Franklin. He wobbles the ball forward. Hayward picks it up, can snap his second. Bouncing goal. He didn't quite get onto it, but he got it far enough forward to kick the goal. And the Swans hit back straight away. So it's 2-1-13 apiece after 10 minutes.
Only been inside 53 times, scored 3 times, so they're looking dangerous.
Yeah, worrying signs, and that was out of a stoppage. So that was all it was Hayward and Franklin in probably 50 metres of space. So that quick kick that Mills did out of there just gives them the opportunity to work him into some space. And it was just a little flick by Franklin, just hacked it forward. But Aliir just off his man again. It's really Achilles' heel, Steve. I don't know how much you've watched him this year closely, but we've watched a lot of the games here, and I know he's a great intercept mark, but at times as a defender, you need to defend your man.
That's right, yeah.
On the text line, Karen from Sunshine in Melbourne says, come on, Sydney. Scores level. Certainly a cracking contest so far. Hickey wins the tap down for the Swans. There's a free kick off the ball. It's going the way of Port Adelaide. So in the centre circle, Sam Powell-Pepper will take it and wastes little time. Runs around and heads up towards the 50. Packer waits there. Dixon in front. Rising Georgiades couldn't bring it down. Ball on deck. Trying to gather it was Drew. Just got boot to ball under pressure. Bouncing towards the goal. Didn't have enough carry on it. Picked up by Rampy, who can clear the 50 for the Swans. Heads towards Hewitt, who gets a fist to it. Ricochets towards Amadi. He has to apply a tackle in the end and hold the ball up. Right half forward for the Power. Scores level 2-1-13 apiece.
Sydney forward's really high. Franklin's the last one. He's really the last forward there, and he's got a mountain of space. If they get through with a bit of speed, Sydney, it's always going to be a chase back towards goal.
Sydney come away from the stoppage, tumble the ball back towards centre wing. Frederick off the pack, gave a handball to Wines. He's immediately pounced on by McInerney and the ball over the line.
Also on the text line, M from Melbourne says, hi team, Go Power is the player that performs the bow and arrow playing today. Xavier Dersma is not, but about a week or two away from that knee injury and desperately needed for the Power at the moment, you'd say. Toss back in. Lycett in front position, wins it down just past Sam Powell-Pepper. Parker picks it up. He's brought to ground, may have been held afterwards, and was. Free kick advantage to the Swans. Mills heads into the 50. 2-on-2 awaiting there. Hayward up against Aliir. Beat the pack. Franklin dribbles it towards goal. Kissocker off the deck for goal number 700. Buddy Brilliance at the back of the pack, and he moves into equal 6th overall in the VFL AFL goals history tally. Lance Franklin with his first of the afternoon, and the Swans hit the front by 6. 3-1-19 to 2-1-13. 12 and a half gone on Grandstand AFL.
Just good body work again, wasn't it? Got Port Adelaide underneath the ball, and once it gets out the back, it was either Franklin was going to kick it or Hayward was going to kick it. So Sydney looking so dangerous. 4 entries, 4 scoring shots, 3 goal 1.
I just don't like the fact that Aliir and McKenzie are playing front shoulder on a wet day where the ball's just going to skid straight through, Steve. So I can understand maybe one, but not both of them, because then all of a sudden it comes down to who's going to fly, who doesn't. If it gets over the back, exactly what we just spoke about there, it skids forward and Franklin kicks an easy goal.
Franklin moves up with Jack Titus, the Richmond player, to equal 6th in the all-time goal scorers in the AFL VFL. So out of the middle, it'll be Port Adelaide. It'll come to Lena. No, he won't go forward. Ball smothered. Parker was with the smother. Frederick goes backwards with a hand pass now for Port Adelaide to Wines. Down to half forward. Powell-Pepper almost pulled it in one-hander. Swans will get it away through a couple of hand passes and then finally cleared by McCartan.
Heads up towards centre wing on the eastern side. Frederick cut it off and was brought to ground without the ball. Free kick to the Power again. Plenty early for them. Central kick hits Amon on the logo. Wastes little time running around. Wines now heads into the 50. Marshall's leading out, crunches the pack, comes to ground. Rosie front and square, hands it out towards Lysett. Then forward he goes to Georgiades, trying to get away from Rampy. Gets a hand pass away, regathers on the paint of 50. Runs around the arc, caught by Fox. Dropped the ball, holding the ball. The Power made a meal of it. Free kick, Sydney.
Fox takes his time now. Clever work to make that tackle. Now he goes wide for Franklin, who pulls it in. 2 grabs. Oh, and then he decides to take off. He's got about a metre before the boundary line. McKenzie almost shut him down. Got it to half forward. Hayward with a beautiful pickup. Inboard to Mills. He takes the mark inside the centre square. He drives it across to the open side. And Goulden slides in to take the mark. 35 out. About that 45-degree angle.
Don't like this early, Steve.
No, Mills is looking good too, isn't he? He's had 6 disposals and just had so much time. It was pretty tough for the Port defence then when a midfielder kicking inside 50's got all that time just to set himself and put it out in front of Goulden, and a lovely kick and a lovely mark.
Well, there's just no pressure on the ball from Port's perspective.
So Goulden, returning from a shin injury after 6 weeks on the sidelines, he comes in and pops it through. Swans extend their lead. 4-1-25. Port Adelaide 2-1-13. We've played 15 and a half minutes in the opening quarter on Grandstand AFL. The experts are Stephen Williams and Scott Camporelli.
Clearance is a 6 apiece, so it's even around there, but Sydney just seem to be using the ball when they get it around that clearance. Ports have been a lot of rush kicks forward, but Sydney have been able to get the ball, run it out of the clearance and use the ball a lot better.
Well, they've kicked 3 from clearance, and that's Port's number 1 weapon. We said that earlier in the call, but they've kicked 3, and they're at Seaport, particularly around the contest. They're off their man, there's no pressure on the ball, and their defenders are too far off.
On the text line, John from West Footscray says, when will the next round of AFL be played? It's just been announced, the fixture, so we'll let you know what that is at quarter time. Tossed up, though. Dixon in the ruck, now up against Amadi. Wins the tap down for the Power, only went as far as Kennedy. Ball up to come. The Swans with the last 3 goals, now up by 12. Here's the reset. Dixon takes it out of the ruck this time. Got a hand pass away. Houston coming through, gets it to Drew. Kick was smothered. The Swans have been very good in that form of the game so far. Rosie picks it up. He drops it in a tackle. Drew gathers. Hand pass forward for the Power. It rolls into the 50. Houston can gather under pressure, though. He's got Lloyd all over him. Hand pass back. Hits Amon. Flat kick towards the left forward pocket was a bit too high for Boak and spoiled out of play for a boundary throw. And inside Port Adelaide's attacking 50, down by 12.
Hewitt the man that time for the Swans. They seem always to find that extra defender when they need it, the Swans. So ball to be thrown in. About 35 around from the goal face. Marshall pushing away. Perhaps got the tap down. Not clean, though, to anybody. And Florent picks it up for the Swans, and then he's tackled straight away by Powell Pepper just outside defensive 50 for Sydney. Ball to be thrown up again.
So on the reset at left half forward for the Power. Coming through, Boat picks it up, flicks a hand pass away, rolls towards the arc. Turned over, though, the Swans wait there. Rampy gets a clearing kick out into open space on the western side. Bell's in front of it, has Burne-Jones right on his tail. Franklin comes to assist. Hand pass back to Bell. Gets around Darcy Burne-Jones, who dives down, smothers but keeps the ball in play. Picked up by Burton. Rush kick for the Power. Heads up down the line. Williams was there, caught in a tackle, somehow got boot to ball. Sliding in, Boak will take the mark. Just forward, just behind, rather, a centre wing on the western side.
Boak plays on now. Long down the half forward, looking for Marshall. Ball punched forward. Houston takes it cleanly off the pack. Inboard hand pass to Farrell. Can go long off his left foot. Boomer! Crowd tells the story there. Farrell was 55 out when he received it and looked and said, yep, I can make this. And he did. Port Adelaide get one back. 3-1-19, trailing Sydney 4-1-25 after 18 minutes of the opening quarter.
Oh, well done, Ryan Burton. Darcy Burne-Jones. Great smother here. Those little things go unnoticed because we'll sit here and go, what a beautiful finish by Farrell off 3 or 4 steps off the left foot. But great contest down the line. Houston front and square. and Farrell's in the middle of the corridor, and he's whacked that from about 60, Steve, off one step.
That's his one wood, isn't it? Dylan Williams did really well then too. He looked like he was going to get pinged for holding the ball, but was able to get almost like a bicycle kick over the head. Boak was able to mark it, and Port were away from there.
Plenty happening in this opening quarter. Lance Franklin kicking his 970th goal to move into equal sixth in the overall tally. A back and forth affair sees the Swans up by 6 at the moment. In the middle, Drew soccers off the ground. Rowbottom tries to gather inside the centre square. Does so cleanly for the Swans. Hand pass to Kennedy, then to Lloyd. Short kick down the line. It's up Bell. He's on the logo western side. Assesses his options and then heads towards left half forward. Leading out. Good mark taken from Lloyd, who just kept going. About 65 from goal. Jake Lloyd, unsure where to go for the Swans. Forward 50's pretty flooded and he's called to play on, so he'll pop it up towards the left forward pocket. Alia's got a nice run in it. It's spoiled it alongside Jonas towards the boundary line. Farrell will see it over for the Power. Ball in to come inside Sydney's attacking 50, approaching time on in the first quarter. The Swans up by 6.
So the ball will eventually be thrown back in. I don't know why the boundary umpires have to look around and make sure ruckmen are there, but in it comes. And Dixon just knocks it down forward, hoping for the best. Rosie took it another 5 or 10 metres along the line before it goes over, so we get another throw in. It's more now at right half back for the Power.
Looks a lot sharper, doesn't he, Connor Rosie, over the last probably month of footy, starting to get his mojo back.
Well, I like the fact that he's playing a bit more midfield too, Steve, so he's probably got his tank where it needs to be now.
Toss back in. Amati in front position for the Swans, gets it down. Pushed out by Hewitt towards Parker, then McInerney into the 50. A flat kick that worked for Hayward, but he didn't take the chest mark. Florence brought down in a tackle from Jonas. Ball held in just inside the paint of 50 for the Swans. Tight in the left forward pocket. There's a bit going on as well between Jonas and Hayward. Coming in, Florence got Jonas high as well. It's a free kick being paid to the Swans. Will Hayward.
The first one was a push in the face by Jonas on Hayward, who was on the ground.
So Will Hayward can go back from 45. Tight angle to the left. He's already got 2.
Yeah, not much in that on the replay. Just gave him a little throat massage, Steve. You would have done plenty of those back in the day.
Then the other umpire gave Jonas a free kick, so he was a little bit late.
Hayward plays on, tried to sell some candy, but Jonas wasn't buying. Hayward turns it over with a flat worm burner. Rosie clears it out of the 50 for the Power. Lysett just slaps it further down the line and went all the way over the boundary line, and that will be deliberate.
What is he doing, Scott Lysett?
Got to disguise it a bit better than that.
I just grab the ball, Steve, please.
Well, I think the Power bench doing a great job there, because there was nobody on the mark initially, and Brand was waiting for the ball to be thrown back to him from the Power bench, and it simply didn't come out.
What does he have to stand right back there for if it's deliberately out of bounds?
So it's where the ball goes out of bounds, so therefore he has to stand over the line to bring the ball back in.
He's standing in the middle of the ground. Unless the umpire paid a throw.
You're talking about the Port player on the mark?
Yeah.
Oh, well, they try and cut off the angle, and then the umpire says stand, and if they're in the middle of the ground, they're in the middle of the ground.
Yeah,
anyway,
true.
kick went down the ground and then was punched off the pack over the line for a throw-in at left half forward for the Swans.
Up by 6 at the moment. In front position, Lysett wins it down, but Parker can cut it off. Has a bit of a fumble, but pushes it into the 50. Kennedy soccers off the deck, centres his kick. Oh, big collision. Coming in, Packley had his knees taken out. Will receive the free kick. There was a few players from both sides in that collision, but Tom Packley will receive it. Jonas was actually pushed into it by Amati, but Packley will receive it. Man on the mark will be 40 from goal. Slight angle to the left.
That's tough. They're both two. The Sydney guy pushed Jonas into it, and he's sliding on his knees. In these conditions, that's pretty tough. I know we don't want to see that, and it is dangerous, but
umpires need to have a bit of feel for the game, don't they?
Papley comes in, kicks from 45. Tom Papley continues his hot streak. His 22nd goal of the year. He's only gone goalless in one game, and that was their last one against Hawthorn. Tom Papley gets his first of the afternoon. The Swans up by 12 once again. 5-1-31 plays 3-1-19. 23-minute mark of the opening quarter on Grandstand AFL.
Well, you just got to take your chances, don't you, Steve? You do. I mean, when the footy gods are down on you, I mean, they both attacked the ball. He just pulled up, essentially on the replay, Papley, and just knew that there was probably going to be contact coming. So he is a smart player.
He is, yeah.
but you don't need to give him easy shots on goal from there. But the issue for Port is, and you mentioned it really well, Steve, is they've had 8 inside 50s for 6 scoring shots, and they've kicked 5-1. That'd be the troubling thing for Ken and the match committee at the moment.
Well, that rule's supposed to protect the players from injury to their knees with sliding in. Papley was more in danger of his head then. He did a full somersault into the ground. So the ball back in the middle. Swans will get it away. Parker just slips the ball forward. It comes off Jonas's punch, goes to ground. Leonard with his head down. Umpire said too high. So Jared Leonard will take the free kick. And there's a little bit of afters going on between Aliir and Lance Franklin. Meanwhile, Leonard takes his kick, sends it wide, and he's down on his haunches. No, he's okay.
Hit up Jonas, who then went further wide towards Bergman. He's at left half back for the Power. Currently down by 12 points. They head back into defensive 50. Jonas spilt the chest mark, now under pressure from Franklin, who bowls him over as he got a kick away. That'll be a downfield free kick, you think, to Port Adelaide. They'll receive it at right half back. Jonas has been battered in this opening quarter. Aliir to receive the ball.
Aliir, now he has an option the other side of the ground, and that's where he chooses to go. So he goes straight across to the other side to Leonard. Leonard with the mark, back towards the corridor. Bergman stoops down low. He's at the centre half back position. Now he goes out to that eastern side again. Port chipping it around effectively. Leonard takes the mark there at left half back.
This is really good by Sydney. One of their Port's KPIs is time and possession and also uncontested marks. So Sydney are very, very one-on-one at this point in time. So they're forcing him to kick down the line.
Leonard goes down the eastern side, off hands, front and square was Amon, shrugged a tackle, runs to left half forward, kicks it into the left forward pocket. Dixon could only spoil it up against Brand. Knocks it out of play for a boundary throw-in the left forward pocket.
Brand taking Dixon or Marshall's run away, and he's done that effectively so far. So the ball to be thrown in, and comes off the back of the pack. Farrell, he's got it in his hands but nowhere to go. Releases a hand pass, picked up by Hewitt, kick smothered. Lloyd now over the ball. Did he drag it in? Oh, he's forced to hand pass it out. Powell Pepper took it, and off the right foot across his body, he sends it through for the minor score. Port Adelaide move along to 3-2-20. They trail Sydney 5-1-31.
The Swans waste little time. Lloyd plays on. Hand pass wide to Rampy. Waits a little bit against Georgiades and finally bombs it long down the line. The Power sitting back though. Jonas marks centre wing. Dangerous kick into the square. Bounced right up towards his intended target in Amon, who was under immediate pressure. The Power just keep kicking it forward. Lysett soccers it off the deck. Boak sliding in will take it. Just right of centre half forward. Boak centres his kick into the 50. Bergman over the top of Kennedy. Was caught behind and still managed to get both arms in the air and grab it. Miles Bergman has it. 30 from goal, slight angle to the left.
He's 189 centimetres, so he's a fantastic size, athletic, and I think he's getting better and better every time I see him. So I think he's going to be a good player for Port Adelaide, but a great mark over a fantastic player. So the opportunity just to get Port that little bit closer.
You're not wrong there, Stephen. His last game, he had his career best 23 disposals. Now looking for a goal this afternoon. Comes in, kicks from 35. It's too far left. Lent back a little bit too much. Minor score to the Power. Now down by 10. 27.5 gone. While Stephen Motlop gets his finger checked on the boundary line. It may have been popped out of its socket, unfortunately, for Motlop, but doesn't look to be in too much pain.
Lloyd plays on from fullback for the Swans. I think the stat was he's kicked out 70... I think it might be 74 or 75 times now, and he's played on every single time, so it becomes a stat every single time.
Why wouldn't you?
So that ball out there now at right half back for the Swans. It was thrown in from that situation. Now they've got possession again, and they go back to find that man Lloyd, and Lloyd's going to clear the 50 area. Goes towards centre wing. Leonard was up, knocked it down towards the boundary line. McInerney took it, was slung to ground. Play on, see the umpire, it fell to Heaney. Heaney down to half forward with his kick.
Burton from behind, though, against Papley, knocks it out of the contest and over the boundary line to be tossed back in. On the text line, Don't forget to leave your name and where you're from. Agent 970 Andrews just texted in once again to let us know who he was from Wangaratta. Says, hey guys, surely it's time to scrap the below the knees rule. It's a terrible rule and goes against the player. We'll discuss that a little bit shortly. Boundary throw in. It's held up though once again, so a ball up to come. Thoughts on the rule?
Well, probably come in with the Gary Rowan incident,
Correct,
didn't it?
yeah.
So there hasn't been for one or two incidents. It's a change to almost the culture of the game.
From the ball up, Boat gets a clearance for the Power. Bounces towards Dixon, who had a fumble. The Swans can swarm. McCartan gets it back to Rampy. Then Kennedy's bowled over by Power Pepper. Just got boot to ball to Parker, centre wing. Hand passes back to McCartan. Once again to Rampy, who kicks across the half-back line. Central, bouncing favourably for Bell in space. Runs around his opponent and kicks up towards left half forward. And Marty's trying to get there, can't reach it. Rolls over the boundary line to be tossed back in. The Swans by 10 points, late stages of the first.
Swans trying to make the ground bigger, just going around and back all the time. So they get the throw in just ahead of centre wing. Lycett and Hickey, I don't think he meant to grab it. Hickey ended up with it and gave a hand pass to Heaney, who clears it off his left foot down to half forward, and there's a free kick there. Umpire spotted it. Might have been a bit of tunnelling. Amati's going to take the free kick. Man on the mark is Alir, standing basically on 50. Amati now around and the umpire calls play on. He goes long to the goal square. Parker was there and Jonas was too strong, knocked it away for the minor score. I think Jonas might have accidentally possibly got one in the eye then. It's a minor score.
And got one in the chops when Parker was appealing for the free kick. Got the back of his elbow.
Sometimes wonder if that was all accidental.
The Power goes straight down the corridor again. Dixon takes the mark. Hand pass out wide to Amon, then Bergman. They're pushing it to the east side. Frederick has it short of the logo. Now a short pass down the line. Works for Lycett. Under pressure, though, couldn't take it. Fox was right on him. Carried it over the boundary line. He'll be tossed back in at left half forward for the Power. So far, Luke Parker the best on field with 8 for the Swans alongside Jake Lloyd. For Port Adelaide, Bergman, Wines, Boak and Drew with 6.
A good quarter to watch in what are definitely slippery conditions. That was well handled by Heaney out of the ruck contest. Then just sent it down towards Franklin, who did the rest. Took the mark on centre wing ahead of Alir, his old teammate. Inboard on the left foot comes Franklin. He goes to centre half forward. Jonas came late, smashed it forward. Houston with the robe. Quick hand pass off to Farrell. Farrell through the middle. Hand passed under pressure, got it to Wines, forced to just barrel it off the ground, down inside half forward. Pal Pepper, he takes possession, now he's in trouble. Stood in the tackle, slipped out the hand pass, umpire said it's a free kick. I'm just looking for a signal there. I think one of the Sydney tacklers just may have got over the shoulder, and that's what happened. Lloyd was reaching up, trying to stop the arms of Pal Pepper, and in the end he went over the shoulder.
Bit of misty rain, is it? Falling as well.
Yeah, it was getting darker in the last 10 minutes, and now obviously the latest sweeping showers coming across the ground. So Pal Pepper straight in front, 40 out, comes in and gets just enough on it. It wasn't the most convincing of kicks, but it is a goal. So Port Adelaide narrowed that margin. Sydney 5-2-32. Port Adelaide 4-3-27, 32 minutes into the opening term on Grandstand AFL.
Really good spoil by Tom Jonas, wasn't it? Come off his man and get there, and that really set Port Adelaide on their way. So turned a Swans attack into a Port Adelaide attack. They had some extra players in front of the ball and were able to make the most of it. I
like the fact that Ollie Wines, it wasn't pretty through the middle of the ground, but in these conditions, Steve, sometimes...
Smart, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was even numbers ahead of the ball with some space. So Pau Pepper was good enough to clean it up, and he's a big body. So with Lloyd, he's always going to fight through that tackle. I think he's a really important player to the team, Steve, Pau Pepper, in terms of his ability to keep pressure on the ball. He's physical, he's tough in that front half.
Sydney by 5, late stages of the first. Lycett wins it down up against Hickey. Back towards Amon, who ran straight into the Bell tackle and actually braced himself for it. But the umpire won't pay the free kick. Ball up to come back half of the square for the Power. Here's the reset. Hickey tries to rise over the top of Lycett. Didn't get the tap too far. Boak spilt it. Wet footy now in the middle of the centre square. Plenty of tacklers as well. The ball not going anywhere. Reset coming.
That misty rain continuing. It's a cold day, only about 12 degrees at the first bounce. Stephen Williams, you know well, these conditions, you just love going down and playing at Albert in the SANFL. So out of the ruck contest, Kennedy gets it forward for the Swans. Heaney off hands. He keeps it in front of him. Somehow released it to Franklin around the corner. Just narrow. Gee whiz, that would have been quite a special goal from Franklin in his long list of special goals for the Swans.
He looks really fit, doesn't he? He looks
yeah.
alive and up and about today, which is great to see from a footy point of view. A champion like that playing at a top level.
Fair highlight package, 970. There's some rippers in there.
The cannon, Mackenzie has it with 20 seconds left. Decides to head up towards right half back. Off hands, the Swans have another chance here. Lloyd at the back, faked going in, sends it back towards the 50. They'll need a mark. Franklin with one hand couldn't take it. Pau Peppers brought to ground, hand passed it over the boundary line. And it'll be a ball in with 2 seconds left in the opening quarter on Grandstand AFL. The Swans will need a free kick here if they want to get a score late, but they're still up by 6.
Ball comes in, and that's just about it. The ball hung in the air just long enough to see us off to quarter time. Interesting opening quarter. Both sides threw some punches. It was Sydney, though, the better at quarter time. The Swans 5-3-33. Port Adelaide 4-3-27.
The goal scorers at quarter time for the Power: singles to Pau Pepper, Marshall, Rosie and Farrell. Meanwhile for the Swans, 2 to Will Hayward, singles to Tom Papley, Errol Goulden, and the man of the day, Lance Franklin, kicked his 970th goal to move into equal 6th in the overall goal tally in the VFL AFL record books with Jack Titus. So one more from Lance Franklin, he'll be outright 6th, but for the moment 970, a tie with Jack Titus for Lance Franklin. The Swans by 6 at quarter time on Grandstand AFL. Earlier today, Fremantle defeating Collingwood by 12 points and North Melbourne defeating Gold Coast by 9 points. It's great to have your company. Feel free to text in as well, 0437 774 774. But for now on ABC Radio, ABC News Radio and ABC Sport Digital, this is Grandstand AFL.
Now, where was I up to in Fisk? Wait, I can set up a free ABC account. Charlie Pickering. Too easy. So from July, we'll need to log in to stream shows on ABC iView. It's easy to set up and we'll be able to pick up watching where we left off, even if we switch from smart TV to mobile. Good for watching Bluey on lunch breaks.
For more information about your free ABC account, head to abc.net.au/ABC account.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Cunningham threw it on the boot, went as far as Pau Pepper. Hand pass to Lysett, then Burton. They go back to the square. Now the power through Amon can head into the 50, leading out Marshall. Took 2 grabs, but he got it. Marshall comes in, kicks from 45 towards home, never in doubt.
With the Swans now, and they take it away from the middle and the secondary ball up. It was Mills down to Franklin. He wobbles the ball forward. Hayward picks it up, can snap his second. Bouncing goal. Hayward with a beautiful pickup. Inboard to Mills. He takes the mark inside the centre square. He drives it across to the open side. And Goulden slides in to take the mark. Goulden, returning from a shin injury after 6 weeks on the sidelines. He comes in and pops it through. Both plays on now. Long down to half forward, looking for Marshall. Ball punched forward. Houston takes it cleanly off the pack. Inboard hand pass to Farrell. Can go long off his left foot. Boomer! Crowd tells a story there.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
A great contest here at the Adelaide Oval to continue round 15. It's Sydney by 6 points over Port Adelaide. Currently 5-3-33 plays 4-3-27. Aaron Bryans and Neil Cross with you alongside Scott Camporelli and Stephen Williams. Earlier today, Fremantle defeating Collingwood by 12 points. North Melbourne defeating Gold Coast by 9 points. And following this contest, everybody is headed to the last game of the day. It is the Bombers hosting Melbourne at the MCG. Corbin Middlemass, Tony Armstrong, Brett Delidio, Brendan Goddard to take you through that following this contest. The text line, if you'd like to get in touch with us as well, 0437 774 774. M says, great call, lads, listening from Brisbane. And also Grant in Hobart says, enjoying the call in the shed working on my buses. Campo, big question for you. Do you think the Blues will sack another coach if they lose tomorrow against Adelaide?
Oh, God, I hope not. As a past player, it's pretty disappointing. I'm getting a little frustrated myself, Steve, but it's one of those things. You're in the win-loss game, aren't you?
Indeed you are.
And when you're at one of the big four clubs, it's the pressure's going to come at some stage.
Just quickly as well, so the news out of New South Wales, Gladys Berejiklian announcing that all of Greater Sydney, the Blue Mountains, Central Coast and Wollongong will go into lockdown for the next 2 weeks. And also the news that was asked from John about the fixture for next week. Thursday night, Gold Coast play Richmond at Carrara. Friday, Geelong up against Essendon. Saturday, 4 games. Melbourne against the Giants at the MCG. Adelaide play Brisbane in the middle game at the Adelaide Oval. 2 night games, Hawthorn and Port Adelaide at Docklands at Perth Stadium, Fremantle, Carlton. On Sunday, Sydney up against West Coast at Cardinia. Collingwood up against St Kilda at the MCG, and the Bulldogs up against North Melbourne at Docklands. Campo, Stephen, your analysis of the first quarter.
Yeah, well, the numbers are pretty even, Steve, other than probably the clearance battle, and something that Port have been really good at for the last couple of years especially. But Sydney have got on top, in that area of the ground. They're 6 in front from a clearance point of view. But the interesting thing is they've kicked 4 goals too, which is actually to Port's 1 point. So from that part of the ground, well, that score source, that's the thing that Port would have probably hung their hat on today. But on the flip side, they've been able to kick 4 goals from turnover, Port, and they've kicked 3 out of their back half. That's been a constant theme for them this year. So when you're losing stoppage and you're playing the game in your back half, you do have to try and score from that source. So really interesting. But I haven't really loved the way that the Port Adelaide defensive back 6 have been working at the moment.
No, it's looked a bit shaky, hasn't it? As we mentioned earlier in the game, every time the Swans went inside their 50, they tended to score, particularly in that first 15 minutes. Callum Mills, 5 clearances, so he's had 8 disposals, but 5 of those clearances, and he's a player that's come from that half-back line, and Sydney have finally actually released him and put him through the midfield, and he's starting to show us what he can do. So he's one that Port Adelaide certainly have to clamp down on.
Some injury news for Port Adelaide as well. Well, good injury news, I guess. Stephen Motlop went off with a finger issue in the back stages of the first quarter, but he's back out there to start this second term. The medical subs, Sam Mays, Nick Blake, are yet to be activated for both sides. Aaron Bryans and Neil Cross with you. The Swans up by 6 points heading into the second quarter. The leading stats, Ollie Wines has 7 for the Power, 6 to Houston, Bergman, Boak and Drew. Meanwhile for the Swans, Jake Lloyd has 9. Luke Parker with 8 and Callum Mills as well with 8. Lance Franklin has 1 from the opening quarter. That moves into 970 goals, tied with Jack Titus in the 6th overall tally. We'll see if he can get to 971 in this term. In the middle, Hickey wins it down. Looking for Florent, who just shepherds and allows Dawson to get a hand pass to Cunningham. Back half of the square, Cunningham for the Swans heads up to the 50. Franklin in front, Aaliyah behind. Off hands of the pack. Franklin chases it to the boundary line. Can't keep it in. Ball in to come for the Swans in their attacking half.
Going to be tough for the players this quarter, isn't it? That misty rain, that's probably the worst conditions to play in as far as for ball handling, so it's going to be very slippery.
It did actually stop for a little while during the break. I'm sure the coaches were happy with that, and then has now set in again. Out of the contest, Mills just tumbles a ball to 25 from goal. Franklin almost took it. Bergman did, and then he was set upon and taken to ground in the tackle there by Hayward. So we'll get a ball up about 35 out, straight in front of the goal there at the Riverbank stand end of the ground that the Swans are attacking in this second quarter.
Still some light rain out there as well. Lysett wins the tap down. Burne-Jones is there. Hand pass went straight up and down to Hickey, who throws it on the left, curling it around the body, bouncing through for a minor score for the Swans. 7 points their lead now. 5-4-34 place, 4-3-27. And we've just hit a minute and a half in the opening quarter, or the second quarter rather, on Grandstand AFL.
Hewitt doing the job on Boak. Boak started forward just to see if he could shake that tag, but Hewitt's gone with him.
McKenzie plays on, booms a kick out wide on the eastern side, up by a spotted free kick in the middle of the pack. It'll go to Dixon. So Dixon backs up. Now where's his next move? Decided to just dump it as far as he can down the line, and he went wide and it's found its way over the boundary line. So we'll get a throw in right half forward for the Power, attacking that scoreboard end of the ground, the old scoreboard up there. 4-3-27 the Power, trailing the Swans 5-4-34.
Real contest game now, Steve, isn't it? It's going to be hard for teams to sort of change the angles of the game. It's going to be stoppage after stoppage, field position, so ground ball and contested possession really important.
From the ruck contest on the eastern side, plenty of players swarming the ball. Lycett kicked it straight into Papley. The height mismatch not affecting the Swan. Ricocheted to Burne-Jones, though, who popped it up towards centre-half forward. Rosie coming out, fumbles it, gets it towards Houston, who handballed it back. Heaney wrapped him up, dropped it. Ball still in play in the centre square. No clean possession so far. Finally, Rosie flicks it out. Gets it towards Amon, who shrugs the tackle. Short kick wasn't a clean one. Cut off by Hewitt for the Swans. Hand pass to Cunningham. Then Lloyd around the body towards the benches. Juggling attempt from Hayward is good. Low to the ground. He takes it up against Burne-Jones. The Swans have it at the back side of the centre wing. And he'll go short towards Florent, who marks basically true centre wing on this western side.
Florent backs up. Options closed inside, so eventually called. And plays on down the wing. High ball. Amadi got to the front and the ball got through his hands. It went out the back. Papley just tumbled it forward, picked up eventually and given to Leanett by Alier, and Leanett carried across the line in a tackle. But it's inside 50 for the Swans, attacking the Riverbank stand end of the ground.
And the rain seems to be slowly backing away, which is good for the players, but still messy football out there. Tossed back in. Neither ruck got a clean tap. Bounced over Drew favourably for Parker. Gets a kick for the Swans to Franklin. Juggled it, couldn't take it. Bowls over Burne-Jones, who regathers himself. Picks it up and clears it out of the 50 towards the centre square. Off the hands of Rosie, who soccers it out wide towards right half back. Trying to pick it up, Williams. Just edged away from it. He's been quiet, the debutant. Knocked out of play by Rosie. Boundary throw in to come. Left half forward for the Swans, up by 7.
Better defensive work by Alier then, wasn't it? Just a back shoulder, was able to get that punch away, and it's going to be tough for forwards leading at the ball to try to mark it in the hands.
Hickey and Lycett make their way to the ball. Lycett perhaps had the better of it. It went down to Parker, though, for the Swans. Gave it to Hewitt. He's going back towards his own goal. His defensive goal. Stepped inside a couple of tacklers off the left foot down the ground. Umpire spotted one in the pack. And it'll go to McKenzie. There was a bit of holding there. So McKenzie will take the free kick just outside his defensive 50. Port Adelaide will go forward through McKenzie's long kick.
There's the cannon, loads up down the eastern side. Dixon nearly takes the contested mark. Did enough to get it down to Drew, though. Hand passes under pressure to Palpepper. Shrugs a tackle. Skies it around the body into the 50 in the scoreboard pocket. Bounces just in the field of play. Rampy's driven down in the tackle. Picked up by Georgiades. Hand pass central to Houston, who's all alone. Top of the goal square. Dan Houston gets the first of the second quarter. It's a 1-point game. Sydney 5-4-34. Port Adelaide 5-3-33. 5 gone in the second term on Grandstand AFL.
Just so costly, isn't it, when you go to tackle somebody and they shrug you off and they're able to get clear. Powell-Pepper was a player. I think it was Cunningham that had him, but he was able to get loose, and from that point on, Port had the opportunity. I think Dylan Williams really did well in this contest.
But we spoke about it before. I mean, the game is not going to be changed of angles. It was a contest up to Dixon up the line. He's going to be really important in this, not necessarily marking the ball, but competing, not getting outmarked at that contest. And Port's method at ground level has to be really balanced for them to keep the ball shifting forward into their front half.
Aaron spoke too soon. That drizzle's back. So back in the middle.
Go easy with him, Crossy. Has had a good day. Or 24 hours.
That's a reference to Richmond, I take it too, just so people know. Out of the middle, Hickey after the secondary bounce just kicked it towards half forward. Frederick led the chase for the ball, couldn't gather it in. Burne-Jones off the ground, socketed about 5 metres. It was picked up by Dawson. His hand pass wasn't great. Now Lycett picks it up, sends it back towards centre wing for Port Adelaide, holding there. Said the umpire, no, it'll be play on advantage. It went to Sydney. So Sydney get the ball and Papley puts it inside 50 looking for Franklin. Alier punches it. Double fister, goes out towards Bergman, who then fisted it back towards McKenzie. He comes out of the 50 with a huge kick, a 60-metre kick. Crowd wanted a free kick to Dixon. He didn't get it. Now he's running onto it inside 50. Socketed it off the ground out to the right. Georgiades picks it up, immediately tackled. Releases a hand pass back to Rosie. Made it look like a dry ball. Then he gave it to Georgiades off the left foot. Centres it up. And Kennedy with the intercept mark for the Swans.
How clean was Rosie there in the wet?
Really stands out, doesn't it? He's a great ball handler.
Take a breath, Crossy. There's a big passage of play thanks to Mackenzie's cannon from the back half to the front half of the square. Meanwhile, the Swans try to get out of their 50 up to the eastern side. There's a free kick to Papley. Frederick's gone over his shoulder, and the rain is really coming down now. Definitely spoke too soon. Papley plays on. Heads up towards centre half forward. Leanett rises to spoil it to ground. Mackenzie's there under pressure from Heaney. Gets a hand pass back to Wines. The power now at right half back. Bergman gets it back to Wines. Then Pal Pepper over the top to Houston. Has some space on the eastern wing. Runs towards the logo, then heads up towards right half forward. Dixon brought down in the contest. Free kick.
He's becoming a factor, isn't he? Just his ability to compete. He's too big down there for McCartan, and
Well, especially when there's some speed on the ball, they just panic.
Dixon at right half forward. In the wet has a lot of tall options, but probably won't want to go high to them. Centres his kick, a one-on-one awaits. Dawson had a lot of contact up there on Farrell. Both of them were holding each other, and it's gone Sydney's way.
Farrell wasn't watching the ball, so he paid a shepherd.
So free kick to Dawson in the defensive 50 for the Swans, up by a single point. 8.5 gone in the second quarter.
And Dawson, if anything, is the answer for the Swans to Mackenzie. He comes wide with his kick. It's near the boundary line. They do well off the ground. McInerney just socketed it down to centre wing proper. Heaney made a contest, released the hand pass. Papley was there. Umpire said Heaney was held by Jonas. Now they move it forward. The umpire is going to call this one back. McInerney was in space, but it's going to come back to Heaney. So he's between the logo and the boundary line. And he goes down to half forward with his kick, looking for Franklin. Oh, he had it, and then he dropped it. And he bowed his head a bit. And then the kick away from Wines came off the back of one of the Swans. It's picked up by Parker. Inboard with a left-handed hand pass twice. The second time found Hewitt inside 50 with a kick. He was almost intercepted by Burton. Port will get away.
Hand pass from Leanett to Burne-Jones, who kicks out into space at right half back, but the only man waiting there was McCartan. Gets around Motlop, hand pass back to Rampy. Flat kick off the side of the boot into the left forward pocket. Skids just inside the field of play. Boundary throw in to come. 30 from the Swans goal, up by a point. 5-4-34 plays 5-3-33. The text line if you'd like to get in touch, 0437 774 774.
It's a panic kick, isn't it, by Darcy Burne-Jones. He's done that a bit this year, just not quite able to make the right decisions under pressure.
So ball back into play. Speaking of Burne-Jones, just put the ball on the boot, sent it outside defensive 50 towards the boundary line. Boak, and then, well, I thought there was a high tackle, but it was Rowbottom who picked it up eventually for the Swans. Drives at 25 from goal. Misses everybody. Bounced into Frederick. His kick outside defensive 50 wasn't fantastic. It's going to come back. Fox with a great duck and dive. And then inside 50 spots up the ruckman. Hickey with the mark and go back and have a look from maybe 40 metres out, maybe even 35 on his left foot, and it favours him. It's to the right of the goal face.
It was poor by Georgiades and Williams. They both had an opportunity to lay a tackle, and they both looked at each other, and Fox just stepped straight through them. And really good composure. He didn't just jam it in there. He lowered his eyes and found Hickey.
It's been good this year too, Hickey, with his ability to kick goals. So this is not beyond him.
From Morningside in the Brisbane competition in the QAFL through 4 AFL clubs. Starts it out to the left, stays there, minor score from Hickey. And the Swans now lead by 2 points. It'll be Leanett to bring the ball in, and he wants to do so in a hurry.
Plays on and takes a bounce as well in the wet. Had to carry it to ground. Sends it long to the eastern wing. Spoiled down by Brand. Bounces well for the Swans towards Dawson. Hand pass to Gordon, who dropped it in the tackle. No free kick. Wines got him originally. Hand pass out wide for Sydney. Rowbottom tries to get it further. Under pressure again. The Swans through Kennedy. Hand pass back. Shrugging the tackle. Good work from Dawson to Rowbottom. Then Florin at centre half forward. Pops it into the attacking 50. Hayward had to spoil against Leanett. Knocks it out of play in the left forward pocket. Boundary thrown to come once again for the Swans.
Well, they've just dominated field position, haven't they, Sydney? And Port just can't get it out, or with any sort of fluency. There was only been that one up the line with Charlie Dixon marking that contest and moving the ball forward. But 3 inside 50s to 9 for the quarter.
Ball comes back into play. Latest of those showers has gone through now. There's a free kick. It'll go in the back. Goulden in the back of Frederick, so he'll take the free kick. Those showers are gone, replaced by the sun coming in from the west and reflected off the far side, off the stand, right in my eyes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sonny's, Crossy.
Frederick goes down the line and Dixon clunks it up in front of McCartan at right half back. We've certainly had all sorts of conditions here today.
Well, this is the problem. If he gets it this high, Steve, who's he kicking to now? Powell Pepper and perhaps Marshall, but it's not Marshall's go, is it really? Contested marking.
No. Yeah, tried to get it to Marshall, was spoiled out of play, but a free kick in the contest will go Todd's way. Caden Brand again the offender, so Todd Marshall has it. Centre wing eastern side for the Power, currently down by 2 points.
This has got to go to Lysette. They can't shift the ball around. Scott Lysette versus Hickey has to be this contest.
Well, they go to a huge pack. Swans through row bottom, slips out the hand pass. Motlop just socketed off the ground, rebounded. Umpires spotted a free kick in there again. It will be row bottom who takes it. Immediately squares the ball, goes across dangerously, and it just sat up on McInerney and across Cape Farrell and knocked it out over the boundary line. Left forward pocket for Port Adelaide. They keep it in their attacking 50.
Just had too much loop, didn't it? That switch kick had to go a little bit quicker and a little bit faster, but gave the opportunity for Farrell.
Toss back inside the Powers 50. Neither ruck could get there. Wines gathers off the bounce. Somehow got boot to ball, but didn't travel very far. Rolled to row bottom. Then Parker and finally Brand on the defensive goal line for the Swans. Heads across the goal face to Lloyd. Takes it, wasn't paid the mark, so a hand pass forward to Rampy. Pops it up down the line looking for Kennedy. Dropped it under pressure. Managed to tap it out further wide though. Fox comes to assist. Now Rampy shrugs the Powell Pepper tackle. Somehow gets it out wide again to Fox. Then Lloyd. Parker a 1-2. Fox at the back edge of the square. Turns it straight over.
That was poor.
Hits Farrell.
He had numbers in the middle there to run and carry through the middle of the ground, and he chose to kick.
Powell looked to rebound. Farrell to Burton, heads into the 50 to a contest at the front. There's a free kick.
Dixon. Just worried about Dixon, aren't they? They just no need really to push him there. He'd had to compete probably against 3 players, but they panicked and pushed him.
Jeez, he's done a mountain of work this quarter, hasn't he?
It'll be interesting to see this kick because he's going to be blowing pretty hard.
It was Tom McCartan again as well, so that matchup not working this quarter for the Swans.
Charlie taking all of his 30 seconds.
Charlie Dixon. Quiet night in terms of goals so far. He's still got 16 left and he hasn't moved an inch. Come on, Charlie, here we go. Starts his run up outside the 50. McCartan stands it at 40, kicks from 45, leans back and puts it through. Charlie Dixon gets Port Adelaide's second of the second quarter, and they hit the front. A 4-point lead to the Power, 6-3-39. The Swans 5-5-35. Sydney with 2 behinds in this term so far. They've gone 15.5 on Grandstand AFL.
Well, I thought he deserved that. He's worked his backside off. Up and down the ground. He's been the contest player. He marked it in the back half. Then he pushed forward to get involved in that one. He's leading strongly. He's had the 5 possessions this quarter, and 4 of those have been contested. So he's doing his bit, particularly at that forward half of the ground.
And now he's gone in the ruck.
He's earning his money tonight.
Well, most players get taken off on the bench, so his reward's going to be the ruck. It doesn't seem fair, really, does it?
He actually does not a bad job in the ruck either, and particularly against an experienced player in Amati.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd be...
Amati, beautiful tap down. So out of the middle, Mills, high, down to half forward. Papley made his way to the ball, couldn't hold on to it. Bump came in there from Powell Pepper, and now he picks up the ball and just lost it in the tackle, picked it up again, hand passed it to Leonard, down to, well, beyond centre wing he went. McCartan almost took the mark. Swans are in control through Rampy. I don't argue, and then he got around a couple of power players, gave it to McCartan, who gave it forward to Mills. Down to half forward he goes with a kick. Parker with the mark. Parker goes Flares wide for McInerney.
So McInerney right half forward. 60 from goal, runs around the man on the mark. Flat kick, just a little too hot for Papley. Coming in, Bell couldn't take it, sliding in, picked up. Big tackle laid on Mackenzie. Ball's held up about 15 from goal, and we're going to get a ball up inside Sydney's attacking 50, currently down by 4 points after leading by 6 at quarter time. Quick reset, and Marty tries to take it out of the ruck against Dixon, couldn't do so cleanly. Leanitz brought down in the tackle, another ball up to come.
3-8 clearance and 5-10 inside 50. Sydney well on top this quarter.
Ball in the air again. Dixon makes body contact, takes the ball out of the ruck contest, gave it to Burton, who may have hurt his shoulder a little bit in that tackle. It's towards the boundary line and eventually over, and the umpire will call for it to be thrown in. Only 5 or 6 metres around from the behind post there in the right forward pocket for the Swans.
Just takes discipline now from the Port Adelaide defenders with their tackling. You just got to be careful. You're not going to hit somebody high.
Toss back in. Dixon in front position. Wins it down for the Power in their defensive 50. Lena gets a hand pass out wide for Wines under pressure to Dixon, who scrubbed it along the ground. McInerney intercepts it for the Swans. His hand pass wasn't great. Burton cuts it off and skies it out of the 50 for the Power. Coming across, Rosie couldn't take it. Rolls towards the centre square. Hewitt just keeps pushing it forward for the Swans. Diving hand pass was a good one. Gets it further forward, or further back I should say. Cunningham curls it around towards right half forward. Mills takes it, pops it into the right forward pocket. Too short for Franklin, and it ricochets off his knee. They've called it out of bounds on the full, but I reckon that was his knee. So it is going to be a free kick to Port Adelaide, but probably shouldn't have been. It's just a shin, yeah. So Port Adelaide in the left back pocket to receive it.
I tell you who got really lucky there, Steve, was Carl Amon. He refused to run with Mills there. And if that had a hit Franklin on the chest, that would have definitely been an edit for Monday morning.
Mackenzie took the free kick, kicked it down the ground, ball carried out on the full. So Brand receives, he goes backwards with a poor kick. McCartan now under pressure, gets away from Motlop, and then he goes down to half forward. Wasn't a fantastic kick either. Finds its way to Mills though. He gave it to Kennedy, slides the ball forward, and Marty picks it up, drops it 25 from goal for the Swans, falls over the back. Hayward almost had it. And Port Adelaide threw a couple of hand passes all come away. They did pretty well. They're under a lot of pressure. Now they've found Marshall outside 50. And Marshall says, well, we better slow things down. We've made a few mistakes and there's not much to kick to.
Yeah, well, they've got to reset the ground now, try and even the numbers up.
Short pass found Burn-Jones at left half back, and he'll head down the line as well to Houston sliding in. He'll take it on the chest. A low-scoring quarter. We had 9 goals in the first. So far, it's 2 straight Port Adelaide to 2 behinds Sydney in this quarter. The Power up by 4. Houston heads down the line with the sit. Couldn't take it. It was Lycett off hands. Comes down. The ruckman tries to gather. Ricochets out towards Hewitt. Caught in the Power Pepper tackle. Now Georgiades turns it over. Hand pass straight to McInerney. He gave it back to Wines. The Power with some messy football heading towards Motlop. Could have been called for a hold. No free kick. The Swans gather it. Florent to Brand, who's run down as he kicked it. Bounces towards McInerney. Shrugs a couple. Underground hand pass. Centre wing. Hewitt's caught high. Free kick going to Sydney. Boat got him. And there's a bit going on after as well between the two as the Swans surge forward.
Finally, they separate themselves. It was actually 2-1 there. Georgiades was in there to help out Boak. So Hewitt goes back towards half-back to Brand. Then he takes the ball right across the other side of the ground. Dangerous kick as it turns out. Didn't find his man, but Lloyd was good enough. Gave it to Fox with a hand pass, and he gave it forward to Florent, and then squares the ball looking for Franklin. It's punched away from him. Papley picks it up. Round on the right foot. What a brilliant effort. Was it a goal?
Yes.
Yes, it was.
That's a great goal.
Straight off the pack, around on the right foot, and from right on the 50, he gets the goal for the Swans, and they're back in front by 2 points. 6-5-41 Sydney. Port Adelaide 6-3-39, 21 into the second quarter.
Just a class goal, wasn't it? Just watching the replay there, just reading the ball, then hit it at pace, handle it at first grab, and then from outside of 50, that's a Tom Papley special.
Well, he just read the cue where the ball was going to go. He knew that it wasn't going to go over the back. Fredericks went to the back, he went to the front, and good night.
On the text line, Kevin says, great call, boys, listening in front of the fire on a cold night in Myrtleford, Victoria. Hope you're enjoying that, Kevin. And Steve on the Sunshine Coast says the AFL app has the Port Swans game listed as live on 7 Mate. It's not on at the moment. If anyone's listening in the Sunshine Coast, feel free to text in and let Steve know where he can find the game. Meanwhile, in the middle, it is the Swans by 2. Off the ruck contest, Parker comes in, gets a hand pass to Mills, kicks around the body, bouncing towards the 50 for the Swans. Leanett puts his head over the ball, ridden by Heaney. Managed to tap it back out of the 50. Off Parker's hands, coming through Burton. Arches the back and heads long for the power to the 50 arc for them. Dixon spoils it down in a contest. Boak has his head over the ball. Dixon regathers it though. Runs around, tries to sell some candy on Brand, who got him. Got the hand pass away, but it was a turnover. Kennedy now a 1-2 with Hickey. Heads out wide to the eastern side into space. Trying to sit up for Goulden, who taps it back to Lloyd. Under pressure from Frederick, gets it back to Goulden. Over the top now, he'll find Dawson.
Dawson against the boundary line on the eastern side, goes down to half forward. Carries the pack. Hayward was there, and so was Jonas, who was content to run it over the boundary line. Just near the attacking 50 for the Swans. Ball will be thrown back into play.
Moving the ball well, aren't they, Sydney, from that back half, handling it well, just taking the right option.
And they're on top through the midfield. Travis Boak's only had the one possession for the quarter. Ollie Wines hardly touched it this quarter, but Parker and Kennedy and Mills have still been able to be prolific through there.
Hitting dusk in Adelaide, that range dried up. Port will take the ball away from the stoppage. Hand pass from Drew, went out to Amon, cleared it down towards half back. Swans with numbers. Mills taking the ground immediately, having picked up the ball. Umpire will come in at left half forward for the Swans and put it in the air.
Quick reset. Umpire didn't waste any time. Hickey just rises over the top of Lysett to win the tap. Went straight to Drew. Kicks it away for the power, bouncing through the centre square. Marshall tries to bounce it like a basketball and doesn't come back to him. Meanwhile, they've turned it over, though. The hand pass intercepted by Farrell, who kicks into open space in the 50. The Swans have numbers as Williams tries to chase. Brand can gather in the defensive goal square and use the Shepherd to clear it for Sydney towards right half back. McInerney's there up against Bergman, who brought it to ground, regathers, runs into the 50 from 45. Across the goal face he goes, and it's knocked through for a minor score on the right-hand side. Port Adelaide down by a point. 6-5-41 plays 6-4-40. 24 minutes gone in the second quarter on Grandstand AFL.
Farrell just had to kick for goal, didn't he? With his legs from the 50-metre arc, he would have reached easily. And young Dylan Williams, he looks gassed out there, doesn't he? He can't run at all.
I was just thinking the same things. The first game is the world spinning just a bit quicker than what it was the week before.
So Lloyd plays on and goes long to a one-on-one contest. Dawson was involved there, got his hand around Boak and knocked it out of bounds at left half back for the Swans. And the world was spinning pretty well, wasn't it, last week when he kicked 6 goals, young Williams? That was in the SANFL. This is just a little bit of a step up.
The gap's getting bigger, isn't it?
Toss back in. Lysett wins it down for the power. It's rolling towards the boundary line. Amon keeps it in play with a soccer off the deck as far as Cunningham, though, who takes it in defensive 50 in the scoreboard pocket for the Swans. Cunningham just calls for some settle. Tries to look for some options. And finally decides to go long on the eastern side. A contest awaits. Amadi was pushed out of it. Still got front position. Couldn't take the mark. Powell Pepper tries to gather. He's stripped of it before he could get a possession away. Mills just flicked it out somehow to Dawson. Now Kennedy for the Swans. Kicks around the body up towards left half forward. Aaliyah just completely removes Hayward. The fall of the ball, Burn-Jones can gather for the power. To Aaliyah. Then back to Burn-Jones. And further wide, he'll find Jonas.
Jonas kicks. I don't think he meant it, but he managed to find his player down the ground. Burton, Logo, centre wing, goes wider. Out with a 15-metre pass to Powell Pepper. He decides to back up and wait. Closing stages of this opening half. It's been an interesting contest. Powell Pepper goes long, into the pocket, off hands, umpire spotted another free kick. It'll go against the Swans. It'll be Brand giving up yet another free kick to Charlie Dixon. So Dixon shooting for his second, wide out, and he'll run in. He'll probably have to kick this maybe 45, 50 metres from that angle.
Left arm over the shoulder.
Yeah,
just
4-on-1 too, wasn't it? It was, once again, probably didn't need to.
So Dixon to give the power the lead. Very late in this second quarter, 26 and a half gone. Dixon comes in, and what a kick. Beautiful and straight. And most of the power players going to big Charlie Dixon. Lovely finish from the free kick. Port Adelaide 7-4-46. Sydney 6-5-41. Closing in on half-time on Grandstand AFL.
I was a little critical of Power Pepper there, not just to get the ball on a bit quicker. It was always going to go to Dixon, but he waited and waited for extras to get back there. But Paul got the lucky free kick, and yeah, that's a good finishman, Charlie.
Oh, he's had a great quarter. I mean, he's had 9 disposals. He's kicked it at 71% in these conditions. He's had 1 contested mark, but 7 contested possessions. So his ability to and 2 goals. His ability to compete up the line, go 1v3, 1v4, even in that scenario there. If you just keep competing, you just never know what happens.
On the text line, Leon in Ashfield says in relation to Steve's text that the 7-mate telecast is not being broadcast there either. So we'll give you the descriptions on the radio. I imagine it'll be in delay in New South Wales, the coverage on TV. Hickey gets the clearance from the middle. There's a high free kick going the way of Sydney. Isaac Heaney to receive it, 45 from goal. 45-degree angle to the left. Ryan Burton, the man who will stand the mark. Isaac Heaney, chance to kick his first for the Swans and take back the lead. There's been 5 lead changes so far tonight.
If they give up a goal here, they'll be disappointed, Port, because they've actually been able to keep in front. They've had 9 inside 50s for 3 goals, 1. They've kept Sydney 17 inside 50s to 1 goal, 2.
So Heaney starts far back, about 70 from goal. Comes in and kicks on the paint. Has plenty of distance. It's heading towards the goals. On the goal line, it's touched over. Looked like it had the carry, but the minus score to the Swans means Port Adelaide keep the lead by 4 points. 7-4-46 to 6-6-42. 28 and a half gone in the second quarter on Grandstand AFL.
That was really well done, wasn't it, by Scott Lycett to get back on the line, knowing that it was going to be close, and a big stretch, and just got a finger on that one.
McKenzie receives the pass, the short one from Jonas from the kick-in, and he goes booming down to centre wing, taking no risks. And speaking of no risks, Farrell trying to go off the ground. Cunningham slid across his foot, and the ball over the boundary line, right where the interchange gates are. So halfway, if you like, perfectly situated as we close in on half-time.
Toss back in. Hickey in front position, but Lycett wins it down from behind. Was looking for Amon, he couldn't gather. Parker gets driven into the deck from Boak. Play on called, the ball comes out. Burne-Jones tries to soccer it towards Wines, who has a couple of fumbles in the wet. Ricochets out towards right half forward for Sydney. And they'll run out of time at the Adelaide Oval. So half-time here in round 15. It's Port Adelaide up against Sydney. And the Power will take a 4-point lead into the major break after trailing by 6 at quarter time. It's 7-4-46, playing 6-6-42. The goal scorers for the Power, 2 to Dixon, singles to Powell Pepper, Marshall, Houston, Rosie and Farrell. Meanwhile for the Swans, 2 to Hayward and Papley, singles to Goulden, Franklin for Sydney, who are now down by 4 points. Earlier today, Fremantle defeating Collingwood by 12 points. North Melbourne defeating Gold Coast by 9 points. Aaron Bryans and Neil Cross with you on Grandstand AFL, your experts to wrap up the first half. Carlton Premiership player Scott Camporelli, Port Magpies Premiership player and coach Stephen Williams.
Yeah, well, they sort of just held on, didn't they, Steve? You know, Sydney probably dominated the field position battle, but couldn't quite get it on the scoreboard. So 17 inside 50s for 1 goal, 3. Wasn't really clean footy going in there. It was hacked field position sort of territory. Football, but Port were able, on the back of Charlie Dixon, really kicked 3 goals too. So his ability to compete with the ahead of the ball allowed them to get 2 shots on goal. Really, that's what it came down to. But you know, Port minus 16 possessions through for that quarter. They only had 9 marks, so it was a real battle of field position in terms of just being hacked forward. It was more of a ground ball contest game where you know, that was pretty even. And Sydney are just getting on top through the clearances.
Almost the opposite to that first quarter, wasn't it? Sydney so dangerous when they went inside 50, scoring at a really high percentage. This quarter going in 17 times and only scoring 2 or 3 times. So the conditions certainly made it tougher for players to use the ball a little bit better. But as you said, Charlie Dixon was the man, wasn't he? He was able to get his hands on a couple, win some free kicks, and more importantly, just finish off those goals.
Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting second half. You know, I think that battle through the midfield, if we have a look at the, you know, Wines, Travis Boak was well held there by Hewitt, only had the 1 possession. They'll be looking to see whether they can manufacture something. The forward move didn't work for him. They tried to move him forward. to then try and get him up around the ball and take Hewitt out of there. It didn't work. I'd put him back in the mid, Steve. Let's see if he can get back to work. Back him in and say, we need you to get it going down, because what happens is they've got someone else, so it's Amon going through there and Drew. These guys aren't natural sort of midfield players. They're sort of second and third string players coming through there, and they bat a bit deeper. Parker, Mills, Kennedy, who else goes through there? Heaney a little bit, not too much today, but they bat a little bit deeper through there. That's going to be the critical part of this second half.
The big news as well from the opening quarter was that Lance Franklin kicked his 970th goal to tie Jack Titus in 6th overall position in terms of goals with 970. So one more will move him into outright 6th. And on the text line 0437 774 774, Bill says Franklin's not so dangerous this year, ? Well, he's 5th for goals per games at the moment in terms of this season, so averaging 2.8. So he's pretty dangerous, but the unfortunate part of how Franklin has always played is he generally juggles his contested marks, and we've got wet weather footy at the moment here at the Adelaide Oval.
He still looks dangerous, though. I mean, there's a couple of times you've just got to give. If you give him any sort of time and space, he just punishes you. So he might not mark the ball, but you can see his second efforts. He tackles, he chases in that forward half. He's a focal point. He's always going to get a great defender that's going to draw 2 or 3 players. So, and you saw that goal that Papley kicked. That was because Port defenders just go because they panic, which the same has happened at the other end with Dixon.
Plus he is 34.
If you ask Port Adelaide who are they fearing the most up forward, it's definitely Buddy Franklin. So conditions aren't suiting him, but he's a player there that's likely to do that incredible thing and score that goal that's going to keep them in the game.
And off the back of quarter time discussion about David Teague, Greg's texted in to say the concept that Carlton is a Big Four club hasn't been true for a very long period of time, which is a bit rough.
No, well, take the feedback on board. That's what happens. It is. Well, and you could argue, yep, he's right. For the last, particularly the last few years, they haven't been up there. So
Richmond had 30 years claiming to be a Big Four club, and they weren't a Big Four club in terms of performance.
Do you think he was having a go at me indirectly, Fussy? You reckon he's getting a little nasty?
I've been pretty harsh to Campo so far today.
They're starting to win a few. The fans will come back. They're sitting there, Campo, aren't they? They're just waiting.
Yeah,
they're waiting on Lygon Street.
Waiting a while, Steve.
It is a big game tomorrow. Our coverage of the contest between Carlton and Adelaide available for you on Grandstand AFL. So that will be only available on local radio in terms of ABC Radio Adelaide. The rest of the country in Victoria, Tasmania, WA, Northern Territory will join about halfway through. But if you do want to hear the full call, you can jump on the AFL app at any time. Our stream is always available there, and also try to listen on Sport Digital depending on what state you're in. But the coverage starting at 4 o'clock Eastern tomorrow for Carlton up against Adelaide. And the one game remaining today, which you'll be headed to next, is Essendon up against Melbourne. That'll be over at the MCG. So Corbin Middlemass, Tony Armstrong, Brett Delidio and Brendan Goddard to run you through that following this contest. But at half-time here at the Adelaide Oval, it is Port Adelaide leading Sydney by 4 points, 7-4-46 to 6-6-42. Plenty of scores from around the country and the globe to come off the back of the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
ABC News with Satyam Weinstein. Greater Sydney and surrounding areas have been declared COVID-19 hotspots by Australia's Chief Medical Officer. Paul Kelly's determined that Greater Sydney, the Blue Mountains, the Central Coast and Wollongong are now all hotspots. The Commonwealth Hotspot Declaration means workers who won't get paid due to the restrictions that last more than a week will be able to access federal government COVID-19 disaster payments. Restrictions in regional New South Wales have been tightened in response to the growing COVID-19 outbreak, with only 5 guests allowed into a household and masks for all indoor settings, including workplaces. Greater Sydney, the Blue Mountains, the Central Coast and Wollongong are entering lockdown from 6 p.m. tonight until midnight on Friday, the 9th of July. Anyone currently in regional New South Wales who's been in the Greater Sydney region since June the 21st must also follow the stay-at-home order. Health Minister Brad Hazzard says authorities are worried about the virus spreading into regional communities.
We are concerned that people may have travelled out into the regions. If you are out there in the regions, as the Chief Health Officer has said, from the 21st of June onwards, stop wherever you are and isolate for the 14 days since that period, since you left Sydney.
Meantime, a Sydney man's been charged for not wearing his face mask correctly at a shopping centre in the city's east. Police approached the 60-year-old man at Maroubra when they saw him wearing the mask below his chin. It's alleged he became aggressive and ignored their directions before being arrested and charged with 3 offences, including intimidating and hindering police. The Victorian government says people will not be allowed into the state if they're from areas affected by the New South Wales COVID outbreak. It says hundreds of extra police have been sent to patrol border regions using automatic number plate recognition technology. The Health Minister Martin Foley says checks are also being done at Melbourne Airport, with a number of people already sent straight back to New South Wales.
And for those people who've come from Sydney with red zones who shouldn't have, they were all turned around and sent back again. That was 15 passengers back onto planes back to their home state when they couldn't produce the permits required.
The Northern Territory government's confirmed a worker at the Newmont-owned Granites gold mine in Central Australia has tested positive to COVID-19. The mine is in the Tanaami Desert, 540 kilometres northwest of Alice Springs. The Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has invited the Pope to visit the country and apologise for the Roman Catholic Church's historical treatment of Indigenous children. It follows the discovery of about 1,000 graves near 2 Catholic schools. Mr Trudeau has apologised for the policy in the last century of sending thousands of children to church schools.
This was an incredibly harmful government policy that was Canada's reality for many, many decades. And Canadians today are horrified and ashamed of how our country behaved.
Relatives of nearly 160 people missing in an apartment building collapse near Miami in the U.S. state of Florida are continuing a frustrating wait for news about loved ones as rescue crews work through another night at the site. More from the BBC's Will Grant.
Even though the rescue teams have worked around the clock, there have still been no positive updates for most families anxiously waiting for news of their missing relatives. Rather, the news that the number of people unaccounted for is so high has only further dented their hopes of ever seeing them again. At one point, amid heavy storms, the families were moved from a community centre which had served as an information point to a hotel, where many hope for more encouraging news over the weekend. President Biden said he knew that this period of uncertainty is the hardest moment for the families and sent them his support.
A helicopter carrying the Colombian president, Ivan Duque, has been attacked near the country's border with Venezuela. The aircraft was also carrying senior officials, including the defense and interior ministers. A video released by the presidency shows several bullet holes in the Colombian Air Force helicopter. And Mexican officials say at least 18 people have been killed in a 12-hour-long shootout. It's suspected the shooters belonged to rival drug gangs. When police reached the remote area where the shootout took place, they found dead bodies strewn on the streets and 2 burnt-out cars. You can get more news from our website abc.net.au/news.
For the latest sports results and stories from around the globe and at home, check out ABC Sport on our social pages. Just search ABC Sport wherever you scroll. Open your ears to the world with the ABC Listen app. Step into someone else's shoes in conversations with Richard Feidler and Sarah Konoski.
She hadn't seen me since I was 2. I was about 16 now. And she looked at me and she said, "That's my baby brother, Archie."
Or learn how to make your money work for you as comedian Nazim Hussain looks at spending less and spending better in the Pineapple Project.
I learned the hard way to budget, but I'm still paying for my 20s in a way.
Open your ears to the world with the ABC Listen app.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Pepper shrugs a tackle, skies it around the body into the 50 in the scoreboard pocket, bounces just in the field of play. Rampy's driven down in the tackle, picked up by Georgiades, hand pass central to Houston, who's all alone, top of the goal square. Dan Houston gets the first of the second quarter. Farrell looks to rebound, Farrell to Burton, heads into the 50 to a contest at the front. There's a free kick. Charlie Dixon. McCartan stands it at 40, kicks from 45, leans back and puts it through.
Lloyd was good enough, gave it to Fonts with a hand pass, and he gave it forward to Florent, and then squares the ball looking for Franklin. It's punched away from him. Papley picks it up, round on the right foot. What a brilliant effort. Was it a goal? Yes, it was. Pal Pepper goes long into the pocket, off hands, umpire spotted another free kick. It'll go against the Swans. It'll be Brand giving up yet another free kick to Charlie Dixon. Dixon comes in, and what a kick. Beautiful and straight.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Important contest for both the Power and the Swans this evening at the Adelaide Oval. Both top 8 sides, both looking to solidify their spot. And at the moment, it's the Power with the lead at the major break, 4 points to their advantage. Meanwhile, the Swans, who led it by 6 at quarter time, just didn't have a great second term, conceding 3 goals to the Power to just their 1. We've had 5 lead changes so far on Grandstand AFL. So it is the Power leading by 4 points, 7-4-46 to 6-6-42. Aaron Bryans and Neil Cross with you, alongside Scott Camporelli and Stephen Williams. Earlier today, a couple of big results. Firstly, Fremantle defeating Collingwood by 12 points. A big contest for both those teams. Obviously, Collingwood's first game under Robert Harvey. Disappointing result for them after they did hit the front in the late stages of the final quarter. So Fremantle had a 3-goal lead at three-quarter time. The Pies ended up taking the lead just short of time on in the final term. But Fremantle answering back to get the win and stay in the hunt as well. They're just outside of the 8 on percentage at the moment. In terms of the better players for the Dockers, 3 goals to Lockie Schultz and Rory Lobb. David Mundy their best in terms of the midfielders with 28 touches for the Pies. Braden Maynard had 27. Taylor Adams had 32. Jack Crisp with 30 as well. But Fremantle with the 4 points. And then in Tasmania, a pretty important game in the scheme of things for the Suns, and they didn't deliver against North Melbourne. The Kangaroos winners by 9 points, 9-18-72 to 9-9-63. North Melbourne with their second win of the season, and some injury news late as well for Noah Anderson, who hurt his wrist in the final quarter. So North Melbourne with a big win in Tasmania. Gold Coast once again will be looked into pretty intrinsically throughout the week with their 10th loss of the season. In terms of the better players from that contest, Todd Goldstein had 44 hit-outs and 21 touches. Jai Simpkin had 30 disposals for North, Ben Cunnington 28. The best for Gold Coast was Took Miller with 32 touches and 4 tackles. The fixture has been released for next weekend, so round 16 will kick off on Thursday night at Carrara, Gold Coast hosting Richmond. Friday night football will see Geelong host Essendon at Cardinia Park. Saturday we'll have 4 games, so the early game at the MCG, Melbourne up against GWS. The middle game, or twilight fixture, Adelaide up against Brisbane at the Adelaide Oval. 2 night fixtures, so at Docklands, Hawthorn up against Port Adelaide. At Perth Stadium, Fremantle up against Carlton. Then on Sunday, 3 games, all in Victoria. So Sydney up against West Coast at Cardinia Park after the latest news coming out of New South Wales that they'll be headed into a 2-week lockdown. Collingwood up against St Kilda at the MCG, and the Western Bulldogs up against North Melbourne at Docklands to conclude that round. In terms of news around the country and around the world, we'll start in cricket. There is reports from ESPN Cricket Info that the T20 World Cup final will be scheduled for November 14, which is a little bit of a concern for the Australians, who have a test match scheduled against Afghanistan on November 27. So if you factor in 2-week quarantine periods, we may have an overlap there with the World Cup final and the test match currently scheduled. Over in the Super Netball, lots of controversy throughout the week between the Fever and the Vixens. Their game has officially been postponed. Super Netball will conduct an investigation into the reasons behind why it had to be. Obviously, with Melbourne having a few players that couldn't fly over to WA and then refusing to fly, the West Coast Fever feeling that breached the rules or the guidelines of the competition. So the game currently postponed, but there'll be an investigation into that. And in the NBA, in Game 2, the Milwaukee Bucks leveled the series against the Atlanta Hawks, 125-91. So Giannis Antetokounmpo had 25 points, Drew Holiday 22 as well for the Bucks. Trae Young just the 15. Here at the Adelaide Oval, though, round 15 continuing. Port Adelaide leading Sydney by 4 points at the major break after trailing by 6 at quarter time. Lance Franklin kicked his 970th goal, which moves him equal 6th in the overall VFL AFL goals tally, and one more will see him pass Jack Titus. A big half of football coming up, and it's a very important half of football as well for both clubs in terms of their top 8 fixturings. We do have a little bit of time before the third term gets underway, so I might head back to the Fremantle-Collingwood game because we did have a fairly short post-game there. So Fremantle defeating Collingwood by 12 points, and after the game, Alicia Muirling had the chance to catch up with Griffin Logue.
Well, Griffin, an incredible win. You must be absolutely thrilled with that here at Docklands this afternoon.
Yeah, 100%. It's wins are pretty hard to come by, obviously. So I think we've got a clean slate now with wins and losses. And even though that's not really what we play for, but look, we're really enjoying it so far. I mean, a great win away from home. So against a side that's had a really good form in the last month or so. They've won their last couple, so yeah, we really love the game. It
was a pretty shaky start in that fourth term. What got you through, do you think?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they've obviously got a clear focus to come out hard for the first couple of minutes, and we thought once we weathered that storm and won a few key contests, we were able to kind of kick off. And yeah, obviously Brett Bewley popping up is a great story. Went through a battle through his groins, and to be able to ice a game like that is just awesome to see. He's a great bloke, deserves it.
And we spoke about that, Brett. I mean, what kind of an impact does that have on the rest of the side?
Yeah, 100%. If it's anyone, we're going to celebrate it. So it's always good that someone's going to get the glory, and as a team, we definitely celebrate that.
And Nat Fyfe was a late out, but you'd expect him possibly to be back in time for Carlton next week?
Yeah, Fyfe is a freak with healing and such a great athlete. So, look, I wouldn't be surprised, if he plays for sure. So it'd obviously be great to have him out there. And, he's such a good leader on field and off. So, I hope he plays.
And, mate, looking forward to the next 2 weeks. Such a crucial fortnight for you with Carlton and then Hawthorn, because you're just outside of the 8 now on percentage.
Yeah, 100%, just outside of the 8. So, it's obviously on to the next game. And Carlton's going to be a good battle at home, but we love to play at home with our crowd. So we can't really wait. We really embrace that challenge and embrace the game. And, we'll look out and try and get the 4 points again.
Rest up. Safe travels home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fremantle defeating Collingwood by 12 points at the MCG earlier today, at the Docklands earlier today. Alicia Muirling catching up with Griffin Logue there in the post-game. The other result, North Melbourne defeating Gold Coast by 9 points. Just on the Super Netball as well, there's been an extra time thriller. The Sunshine Coast Lightning defeating Collingwood by 2 goals. So that essentially concludes round 8 there, with the Vixens and the Fever fixture being postponed. The text line, if you'd like to get in touch, 0437 774 774. Aaron Bryans and Neil Cross with you alongside Scott Camperelli and Stephen Williams. Alex in Perth says, hello lads, can I ask you commentators, stop saying the players lowered their eyes? Well, it's just one of those things that we're going to continue to say, unfortunately. It's always going to be 50-50. Holger's texted in, and I'm very thankful, Holger, for texting in where you're from phonetically. You've said Mount Toolabawong in the Yarra Ranges. Hopefully I got that right. Well, it's written crossy, so that's how I'm going to go with it. Says, soaking in the tub and loving the call, go Bloods. Thanks for your text, Holger. And also Tim from Wodonga says, Marty, a good prospect, ? He's a 2018 rookie. He's been looking good so far. Second half about to come up very shortly. Your quick thoughts on Marty?
What do you think? Lower their vision? Would that be better than lower their eyes?
Second half underway on Grandstand AFL. Power up by 4.
First touch out of the middle. Boak got the hand pass away to Amon for Port Adelaide. They'll go forward. High and long he went. And Dawson punched it away. Was being held by Motlop, who hasn't had a great night. So free kick will go to the Swans. Immediately the hand pass from Dawson across to Lloyd. And then Shorty went to Hewitt. Outside defensive 50. Now Hewitt called the play on. From the point of the square, he sends it long.
Up down the eastern side, Hickey had a fumble. Coming through, Amon gathers it for the Power. Hand pass back to Aaliyah. Pops it up over the logo. 2-on-1 favouring Port Adelaide. Georgiades does well to take the mark. Doesn't waste any time. Heads towards the 50 for the Power. Dixon in front, got a hand to it. Brings it to ground. Motlop's there. Hands it back to him. 45 from goal. He had all the time in the world and sprayed it left. Out of bounds on the full. Free kick, Sydney, in the right back pocket.
That's what happens when you lean back when you're trying to kick the ball. He just pulled it, didn't he, to the right. Real opportunity for Port.
The weather radar shows that we might get a second half without rain. Although don't hold your breath. Ball kicked outside defensive 50 for the Swans. Row bottom off the pack. He was tackled as he kicked, and he got it 30 metres down the ground and put it into about row 4 or 5. So as a result, out on the full, free kick, Tom Jonas for Port Adelaide.
The skipper just inside the field of play. runs around and heads towards the left forward pocket. Contest awaits, coming across Dawson, knocked it to ground. McCartan tries to push it forward for the Swans, but Amon's there to cut it off. Hand pass under pressure, rolls towards Motlop. In the tackle from Cunningham, still got it away. Coming through Farrell, off to Rosie, then Boak from 45, just threw it on the boot out of nowhere. Travis Boak. The Power strike first in the second half. They're out to a 10-point advantage. 8-4-52. Plays 6-6-42. We've travelled 2 minutes in the third quarter on Grandstand AFL. Your experts Scott Camporelli and Stephen Williams.
Called for him, didn't we? We called for Boakey to go back in the middle. He got the clearance. He was the one that won the ball and got the handball out, and then a really good finish after some nice work in tight by Port Adelaide.
Well, and that's the best result, isn't it, Steve? In terms of someone's following you, there's nothing worse than a tagger hates is when you kick an early goal when you think that the quarter before you kept him to one possession. So it might not be an easy night here for Travis Boak, but I love the fact that Ken's backed him in and said, get back and roll your sleeves up and see if you can take him head to head.
And he's got more of a chance of kicking a goal, actually drifting down as a mid rather than playing as a position player up forward.
Just the fourth goal of the season for Boak, the two-time best and fairest winner. He's back at it in the middle of the ground. Slips a hand pass out to Amon, tried to push off. He was grabbed in the tackle. It's play on advantage. Hand pass over in the 1-2 from Swans, and they go deep through Parker, and it's off hands and through for the minus score. Chance there for the Swans, and they just didn't quite make the most of it.
So the Power through Tom Jonas now have possession. And they're currently looking to clear. They head it long towards right half back. Dixon in front position takes the mark in the pack. Wastes little time. A hand pass to Amon. Gets around Amadi, who pulled up a bit ginger in that contest. Meanwhile, off a few hands, it bounces around at centre half back for the Power. Lysett brought down without it. Free kick to come his way. Amadi keeps looking towards the bench. He's very proppy. Staying on the field at the moment as the Power head towards the eastern wing.
Got out of jail then, didn't they? They almost turned that one over.
So Port Adelaide get it out to Wines, out on that eastern side, down to half forward. Miraculous mark taken by Motlop, falling backwards. Power fans not happy with the treatment from Dawson. Motlop still 60 from goal, drops it in short, lead up. Georgianus dropped the easiest of marks. It almost relaxed completely. There was no pressure on him. Ball on the ground. Swans will clear through Rampy. And straight away, he didn't go far enough, said the umpire. It went to Amon now under pressure. He's turned it over. Mills picks off a kick through the corridor. Doesn't go to his own player, and so it's picked up by McKenzie, who goes inside forward 50. This time, no mistake from Georgiades. Took it in the hands in front of the face. And we'll go back and look at a 40-metre kick for a goal.
Ever seen an easier chest mark drop?
Yeah.
You don't often get an opportunity.
No, that's right.
20 seconds later to have another shot at goal.
Georgiades settles down, puts his mouth guard into his sock. Never understand that.
I can never understand that either.
Why take your mouth guard out? So he starts his run up from inside the centre square. He'll only have to kick it from about 45 out. Settles down now. Georgiades, he hooked it badly, and it was coming back and it hit the post, but it wasn't the greatest of kicks. So minus score, Port Adelaide stretch that lead. They're out by 10 points, 11 points it'll be now, or is it back to 10? No, it's back to 10. So it's 8-5-53 to 6-7-43.
Swans out of the 50. Lysett chops it off straight to ground, but Hickey gathers it for Sydney. Swings around and heads to centre wing. Good rise from Parker. Juggled it, couldn't take it. Florent front and square. Hand passes to Hickey. Flat kick up to left half forward. Hayward's there off the bounce. He's got Aaliyah right on him. And Aaliyah does well to soccer it into the centre square. Lloyd cuts it off though. Finds the open man in McInerney. Gets around Farrell. McInerney now long into the 50 for Sydney. Contest there. Buddy crunches it. Straight up and down goes the ball and falls favourably for Rowbottom, who throws it on the left.
Free kick to Frederick.
Bounces through. Would have been a minus score, but it is coming back to the Power. So Martin Frederick, the late change, who's a bit ginger after that contest, gets the free kick and defensive 50. And Amadi has come to the bench now, getting checked out by the club doctors.
Frederick got a problem with his right shoulder out of that contest, so he just drops the ball in short. Bergman with the lead up. He's still inside defensive 50. The Power attacking that Riverbank stand end of the ground. He goes to centre wing with the kick. Bergman, off hands it comes, and down behind play out of that contest. Mills slow to get up for Sydney as well, as the ball spewed over the boundary line in the end. Mills just looks quite sore at the moment as he gets back to his feet. Looks like he might have copped one a little below the stomach. Ball to be thrown in.
10-point game. The Power currently up off the ruck contest. Boak tries to soccer off the deck, pushed away as he tried to get boot to ball. Spills towards Florin, who dived onto it. Diving onto him was Williams. Wraps him up in the tackle, nearly pulls the ball away. Ball up to come right half forward for the Power. And keep trying to surge it forward. On the reset, here we go. Hickey gets it down straight to Wines, though. Wrapped up in the row bottom tackle. Got boot to ball. Straight into the chest of Florent. Hand pass to Kennedy, then Mills. Turned it over to Bergman. Spins around for the Power. High kick towards the goal square. 2-on-2. Dixon couldn't get a flight at it. Spoil rolls towards the defensive goal line. Cunningham's there. Gets away from Rosie, who runs into the right-hand behind post. Looks very ginger from that. Meanwhile, still contested in the left back pocket for the Swans. Florent gets boot to ball and hits up Bergman. 45 from goal. Messy football from Sydney. And the Power get a shot on goal. Connor Rosie back to his feet and looking okay. But Miles Bergman has it. Tight angle to the right. And now Callum Mills is coming off to be checked out by the club doctors.
Good pressure there from the Port Adelaide forwards just to make Sydney dump kick it out. And Bergman was in good position.
Bill's on the money on the text line, says, forget the COVID test, the Swans need an eye test. Haven't been great in this third term so far. Bergman comes in, loads up from 48. Great goal from the Rook. Bergman gets his first. The Power have 2 to start this third term. They're out to a game-high 16-point lead. 9-5-59 plays 6-7-43. Approaching the 9-minute mark of the third quarter on Grandstand AFL.
Yeah, well, it was, Steve. You called it correctly. You know, they had 2 or 3 inside 50s. The forward pressure was really good. Sometimes it's just the perceived pressure as well. You don't always have to get to them, but force that kick. And Bergman, as this side winger, just sat in that hole, just covered the exit and dropped straight in his hand. What a great finish. Really nice kick in wet conditions.
Connor Rosie running into that behind post, as Aaron called. But he's already got strapping on his right leg, and he is favouring that, or right leg, right knee, and he is favouring that badly down there on the forward line of Port Adelaide. Meanwhile, ball up in the middle, and Kennedy is dragged down after he received a hand pass from Rowbottom. It's turned over. Wines inside 50 with a kick. Dawson going back, read it best for the Swans, takes the defensive mark. The Swans just slow in their build-up now. Dawson will come onto this broadcast side of the ground to a big pack featuring Hickey, who got his hands on the ball only briefly.
Boat got a hand pass away. Burton now tries to shrug a tackle from Bell. Does well. Gets a hand pass back to Powell-Pepper. Then Boak in front of the benches. Centres his kick. Hits up Wines. Hand pass out wide to Lycett. Runs to right half forward. Awful kick. Wormburner dribbles its way into the 50. Rosie has a couple of fumbles, spills through his legs, but works favourably. Dixon back to Farrell, now from 40. Powell-Pepper has some time to straighten his kick. Didn't have the accuracy or the distance, and is fumbled on the defensive goal line by Rampy. He had an uncontested mark and whiffed it.
Never handball to a ruckman, Steve.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're not the blokes you want spotting up kicks inside 50, are they?
Oh, it was actually just an easy kick over the top.
Over the boundary line, it'll be tossed back in for the Power.
Dixon in the ruck contest, takes it out, around onto the left foot, from the left forward pocket, straight across the goal face, out on the full. It was also promising. Asking too much, playing more like a ruckman than a centre-half forward in that situation. Kicking it out on the
He is
floor.
mobile, isn't he, for a guy his size? And not bad on his non-preferred, but that's a pretty tough kick trying to bend it back.
McCartan in the left back pocket, heads it down the line. Franklin's in the contest, spoiled it down from behind. Ricochets to Rowbottom. He kicks it off the deck. A bit of soccer going on in wet weather conditions. Leanett puts his head over the ball. He's wrapped up by Rowbottom. Ball up to come in the centre square. It's currently the Power up by 16 points. 9-5-59 plays 6-7-43. Quick reset. Lycett just smashes it out of the contest towards the western wing. Bouncing in open space. Florent gave chase. Bergman stood his ground, though. Gets a hand pass to Drew. His hand pass cut off by Hewitt. Dropped it in the tackle. No free kick. Hewitt wraps up Bergman. Will get a ball up just in front of the benches. Centre wing, western side.
Certainly missed that one, the umpire. That was dead set. Took him on with the tackle and incorrect disposal.
All hopes of not seeing more rain gone. Misty rain starting to fall again. Out of the contest, it was Drew down to half forward. And was that a mark? Yes, the umpire said it was by Dawson. He went back, had an initial touch. I thought it bounced on the ground as Dawson went down, but he claimed the mark. Now they've swept it across the ground. McInerney with the ball, running in circles, can't get away. Well tackled by Georgiades, released the hand pass. Further down the ground, Rowbottom now picks it up. He's under pressure with his hand pass. McInerney again off the ground. Gave it towards Lloyd. He paddled it towards the boundary line and back behind the play. There's a little bit of afters that went on between McInerney and Georgiades, and McInerney comes away with the free kick for some high contact.
Good news for the Swans. Amadi and also Mills back on the ground for them. McInerney plays on it again. Georgiades nearly runs him down. Just shrugs the tackle. Kicks through the centre square. Hits up Mills on the chest. Plays on quickly. A hand pass to Franklin. Flat kick up to left half forward. Sliding in. Good mark by Parker. Centres his kick. McInerney takes the uncontested grab. Hand pass wide to Mills. They're mucking around with it, the Swans. Into the 50. Papley's all alone in the scoreboard pocket. 45 from goal. Tom Papley takes it on the chest. Tight angle to the right.
Great work by McInerney, wasn't it? Not to panic, you know. He was called play on. He had to get around Georgiades, took a bounce, hit the target, followed it up, got it back, and he's the reason Papley's having a shot for goal now.
And we talk about Lance Franklin in terms of his goal kicking. How good a field kick is he for a big
kick.
guy?
So Tom Papley has two already for the evening. This one will test him. Tight angle, it's a barrel across the goal face, and marked 15 out from goal by Luke Parker. Somehow got to the front of that contest, and the smallest man in it, up against the likes of Franklin, Lysett, Aaliyah. Luke Parker takes it. The co-captain will come around from 15 out.
Well, Bergman was the player. He had him covered and just let him jump at the ball. I mean, Parker, as we know, is a great contested mark for his size.
He is a good mark. Ken Hinkley was pretty happy with it.
Around comes Parker, plays on and curls it through. Sydney get their first of the third. Back to a 10-point game. Port Adelaide 9-5-59. The Swans 7-7-49. 14 minutes gone in the third term. Aaron Bryans and Neil Cross with you, alongside Scott Camporelli and Stephen Williams.
Really had to score next, didn't they? It was starting to get away a little bit. 16 points, but that certainly got Sydney right back into it. And like I said, it all started from McInerney taking the game on across half-back.
Parker with all the scores for the Swans to start their second half. He's got 1 goal, 1. And Swans now back within 10 points. Contest to see which of these sides continues to hold hopes of a top 4 finish to the season.
Ken's just put another crack in the table up in the coach's box. Thank God I'm not in there anymore, Steve. Hey?
Yeah, but you want back. You know you do. So back in the middle.
Glutton for punishment.
Neither ruckman got a ball off the ground. It was kicked forward inside the 50 for Sydney by Mills, and now it's towards the boundary line on that eastern side of the ground. Frederick over the ball. Eventually they settled, all the players in the end settled for taking the ball over the boundary line just outside attacking 50 for Sydney. They're going to that northern end of the Adelaide Oval.
I would have thought Campo enjoys bullying me on SA Grandstand more than being in the coach's box.
Wow. Yeah.
Lysett in the front position wins the tap down. Heavily contested, a ball up to come just outside the paint of 50 for Sydney.
Have you got a hanky there for him, Crossy?
Can't share hankies these days. It has to be a few tissues. I've got some tissues somewhere.
Or the little violin, one of the two.
Marty wins the tap down this time for the Swans. Straight down, though, towards Houston, who kicked it right into the face of McInerney. Good smother attempt from his face and hands. Ricochet back to Houston, kicks down the line. Cunningham cuts it off for the Swans. Back edge of centre wing. Kicks down the line. Drew had a juggle, couldn't take it for the power. Goulden thought he had it. just carried over the boundary line as he darted towards the 50. Ball in to come. Right half forward for the Swans.
So it's interesting. The Power were down in clearance, so that's been an Achilles heel for them tonight. So what they've done, they've thrown one around the stoppage, which leaves Cunningham free. In these sort of conditions, Steve, even numbers ahead of the ball surely is the best way to go, because they're going to use an extra number at ground level just to work the ball out.
So the Swans had an opportunity there to go forward through Florent off the ruck contest, but it was smothered by Powell Pepper over the line. So in comes the ball again. Lysett, the bigger of the two ruckmen, and then McInerney was barreled after he took the ball. He stepped around one, and then Drew got him. The umpire said that's holding the ball. So Drew will take the free kick at left half back out on that eastern side for the Power.
He does love the tackle, doesn't he?
He does.
He's a good tackler.
He's been a pretty good success story for Port this year. After missing the whole of last season, he's come back, held his spot in every game, and probably been number 3 mid.
He's 5th in the league for tackles heading into this round. Got it to Lysett, who kicked down the line off a few hands. Kennedy gets it to Cunningham. Awkward kick into the square for the Swans. Bounces towards Wines, a hand pass to Leanett. Now the Power through Frederick. Shrugs a tackle. Skies it high into the 50. 30 out from the Power. Goal. Williams couldn't bring it down. Fox tries to soccer it off the deck. Comes out towards Hewitt. Diving onto the ball. Marshall gets him. Dropped the ball. No free kick. Kennedy back to Rampy in the left back pocket for the Swans. Hands it back to Fox. He's got 2 right on him. Gets it to McCartan. Kick straight up. May have been touched. Heads towards left half back. Franklin was pushed in the contest. Free kick against Trent McKenzie. Sydney to receive it, down by 10.
Franklin goes over the boundary line to collect the ball. Chopping the arms was the actual ruling.
It's a future Hall of Fame free kick.
Right. Did one up. Hewitt led up. Franklin kicked it to him. Now Franklin taken in a tackle as he picked it off the ground. Couldn't get foot to the ball. Umpire said that's holding the ball. It'll be free kick to Port Adelaide. McKenzie has it. He could boom this all the way to the goal square with his leg. He's decided now to play on and just chip it into the forward pocket. And the Swans defenders scrambled it across the line. Right forward pocket for Port Adelaide, attacking the Riverbank stand into the ground, and with a 10-point lead in this third quarter.
On the text line, Andrew in Wangaratta says, how long does Buddy have left on his contract? Up until 2022, Andrew. He says it hasn't resulted in any flags for the Swans. Well, financially, it's a huge success for them. They need a star player to draw crowds, and it's definitely worked for them in that respect. In the ruck contest, Amadi got the tap down. Powell Pepper gathers. There's a bit going on off the ball after that ruck tap, and Mills will receive the free kick up against Marshall. So Callum Mills in the defensive 50 for the Swans. Kicks across the defensive goal face. Heads to right half back. McInerney marks uncontested. The Swans looking to move it up the eastern side, down by 10. Pops it short. Bell leading out. Quiet tonight. Takes it on the chest. And a short kick centrally finds Florent on the logo. Wastes little time. Flat one a bit short. Bounced well though for Dawson. Inbound he goes to Mills, who kept running long towards the goal line. He heads a 2-on-1 against Heaney. He brings it to ground. Amadi comes to assist. Hand pass back to Heaney under pressure from Drew, who came in, almost came over the top of Heaney's head. The Power regather it though. Powell Pepper to Drew. Then Georgiades had as a fumble. Picks it up once again. Gets the hand pass back to Drew. An underground one towards Bergman. Then Powell Pepper at right half back. Over the top to Boak and just throws it on the boot. Bouncing towards centre wing.
Florent got rid of his man and then went back to the ball. Tapped it towards the boundary line as he fell over. Cunningham picked it up. Back he went with a hand pass to Ramp. He slipped. And it went over the boundary line, or rather it was Brand, in fact. He slipped and went over the boundary line.
I was just watching young Williams. He's
gassed.
He is gone. This is just moving far too quick compared to last week. I shouldn't laugh. I mean, he's going to take some time, isn't he? But, you know, what a great experience for him.
Ball thrown back in. Dixon takes it out of the ruck contest, charges forward. He's dragged down. Umpire said holding the man. Free kick will go against Parker for Sydney. So big Charlie Dixon imposing himself on this game. There's no doubt about that. 10-point lead for Port.
Short kick hits Burton.
And Dixon's gassed now.
Burton from 55 centres his kick into the 50. Mills did well to get a fist to it. Ricochets behind the pack to McInerney. The Swans now in the right back pocket. Lloyd gets the clearing kick out of bounds on the full.
Great pressure, Connor Rosie.
Yeah, terrific chase, wasn't it? We thought he was limping a bit, but he certainly was going full blast then.
The Power wastes little time. Jonas inbound to Frederick. At left half forward, back into the 50. Here goes. Contest there. Marshall somehow, no pressure at the front of the pack. Takes it on the chest. 20 out from goal, slight angle to the left.
Must have been some good blocking there because that looked way too easy, didn't it?
Oh, he just moved him just a little right arm into the chest and just moved him offline with the ball. He was just got him off balance.
There's not a lot of weight on him, Todd Marshall.
They're not massive arms to move anyone, are they?
He used it well. Todd Marshall, on his first game back from concussion, replacing Peter Laddams, comes in and start his run up from 45, kicks from 30. Todd Marshall's got 2. The Power back out to a 16-point advantage, 10-5-65 to 7-7-49. 22 minutes gone in the third quarter on Grandstand AFL.
It's always interesting discussion, Steve. I thought he was out of form before he got the concussion. We watched him here a couple of times, and I understand from a structure point of view, but even tonight he's had 4 possessions, kicked 2 goals. Is that enough, in terms of inside forward 50? They did look short. When he was concussed that week, they did look short. When Dixon went into the ruck and then there was only Georgiades, they did look small. So is that output enough to keep him in the team moving forward? Obviously, structurally, they do like the 3 tools.
I think Ken Hinckley does like Todd Marshall, and as you said, he never gets a stack of the footy, but he just needs to keep on improving, get a bit stronger, and with his mobility and size, he could be anything.
So reset coming in the middle. It's the Power by 16 points. Lycett in the ruck, tap up against Hickey.
Dixon
free kick coming back to the Power.
Travis Boak's been terrific too this quarter. He's had 9 disposals, so he's really lifted.
Dixon getting his knee checked out, Aaron, down on the boundary line.
So Boak received it for a hold. Flat kick to centre half forward. Bounces its way into the 50. Plenty of players swarming. Straight up and down goes the ball. Georgiades tries to make a contest. Can't bring it to ground. The Swans there through Lloyd. He tries to gather under pressure. Now Pal Pepper spins through a couple of tackles. From 45 from goal, he hands it back to Boak. The Power in possession now. Wines kicks it up towards the right forward pocket. A 2-on-1 favours the Swans. They'll take the intercept mark in defensive 50. Welcome to our listeners listening on Sport Digital in Sydney and Canberra and Brisbane. Currently it is the Power up by 16 points, late stages of the third quarter.
Mills for the Swans, drives towards centre wing, falls over the back. Franklin's got it in his hands, running away and then barrels the ball down to half forward. Great kick. He really does know how to deliver the ball. Papley took the chest mark just inside 50 for the Swans. Surely Franklin must have dreams of him playing in the middle, kicking to himself. So Papley with the mark.
You forget how big he is, don't you, when he moves like that?
He's a monster.
Well, you watched him bounce the ball twice and run about 60 metres down the wing.
Poor old Cale Hooker. I thought he's no chance.
Papley. Can he carry the distance? He can, but by arcing out to the right, he sent it right for the minus score for Sydney. So the Swans have kicked through this quarter just a 1-goal 2. Port Adelaide has put 2-2 on the board. They led by 4 points at half-time, Port Adelaide, and now that margin is 15.
They've dominated the quarter, Port, really. 13 inside 50s to 6, and clearance-wise 8-3. They've turned it around from that second quarter.
Out of their defensive 50 they go, bouncing off a few hands in the pack. Pal Pepper's hand pass, an errant one, may have ricocheted off Burn Jones's foot. Umpire's not buying it. Boundary throw-in to come at left half forward. That's for the Swans as well. 25-minute mark of the third quarter. Sydney down by 16 points. Here's the boundary throw-in. Lycett in front position. Hickey just got rid of him. Takes it out of the contest. Outside of the boot. Banana to the goal line. It beats the pack. It's bouncing towards the goals. Minus score through on the left-hand side. Sydney now down by 14 points. 7-9-51. Port Adelaide 10-5-65.
Doesn't look strong enough to do that, does he, Tom Hickey? But he used his body really well then to get Lycett out of the way.
Charlie Dixon's still not back on the ground. Are we cutting costs, Aaron? We don't have a boundary rider tonight, or?
Our boundary riders have had a pretty rough season, all 3 of them having the weekend off. So we'll get one of Jack Paquette or Josh Money or James Coventry back next week.
You last week, boundary riders this week. Anyone else? Crossy had a weekend off?
It was a bye weekend, isn't that what we call it? Anyway, Port Adelaide through. Lena took a good mark and a pack, sent the ball down the ground from outside defensive 50. In the middle of that pack, there was a push. And Caden Brand is going to take the free kick for the Swans when they recover the ball, which I think is on the Port Adelaide bench. Very slow to come back. Finally, Pal Pepper, who is sitting there, decides to kick it across to Brand. Now he goes back down to half forward, and Burton looks like he takes a 2-grab mark. And if not, he got a high one from Franklin. So Burton for Port Adelaide will settle things down, and he goes straight across the ground to the other side, the eastern side, and finds his skipper in Jonas.
Switch wasn't really on though, so Jonas is held up and decides to go back across the goal face to Mackenzie. He'll centre his kick. It's a dangerous flat one for Boak, who slides in on his knees and takes it up against Heaney. Still inside defensive 50 of the Power.
Very dangerous kick with 1 minute 30 on the clock.
Heads out to the scoreboard pocket to Mackenzie and back to Jonas on the paint of 50 of the Power, just chipping it around. But there's still 90 seconds left. They can't just keep trying to kill the ball here. 27-minute mark of the third. Jonas decides to go long to the eastern side. Packer waits, Lysett from behind. Spoils it over the boundary line to be tossed back into play. The text line, if you'd like to get in touch, 0437 774 774. There's been a lot of texts about lowering the eyes, and this is a debate that always ends up happening on Grandstand AFL, so we're just going to try and move on from it.
Ball back into play. And just socket off the ground by Port Adelaide, further down the ground towards Rosie. Cunningham pulled him down. He was worried about Rosie's pace, and actually a rare time. Rosie didn't handle the ball first time that well, and
that's
as a
what cost
result,
him. Yeah, that's what cost him the free, wasn't it? Normally he's a one-grab player, and you tackle him, but he fumbled this one. That's twice tonight he's actually fumbled and received a free kick.
So he cuts inboard and sends the ball long. 25 from goal. Swans have the numbers. Punching off the pack comes to Byrne-Jones for Port Adelaide. Gave it to Farrell. Farrell hand pass wide when he was open to kick. He gave it to the left foot of Amon. Amon did the job, not quite. Just a little narrow, minus score. Port Adelaide on the cusp of three-quarter time. Back to a 15-point margin. The Swans 7-9, Port Adelaide 10-6.
You just wonder what Kane Farrell's doing there, you know. Set up on his left to kick that one and pass it off.
Confidence, Steve?
Well, if you want to keep your place in the side, I reckon you kick those.
Good point, good point.
Jake Lloyd played on from the defensive goal square. A hand pass to McCartan, whose kick bounced out of play. So a boundary throw-in to come right half back for the Swans. There's still enough time if they're quick here. Toss back in on that eastern side. Hickey wins it down. Drew's there to cut it off. Bounces towards Lysett. He can't gather cleanly. Rowbottom's brought down in the tackle. Houston's there up against Hewitt. Gathers inside the boundary line. Skies it straight up and down at left half forward. Farrell gets a fly. Spoiled down. Drew was there. Hand pass to Boak. Last roll of the dice. Maybe the hand pass to Lean. It was fumbled. Trying to pick it up. Byrne-Jones puts his head over the ball. Cocked one high. Free kick on the siren to Port Adelaide. Bang on the paint of 50. Straight in front, Darcy Byrne-Jones, who hasn't kicked a major this year, has a chance to load up for the Power.
I'm not sure he's Toby Green. I can't imagine he's going to get the distance.
I think he might need a barrel, though, like Toby Green, to make the distance.
They are allowed to slightly run around as well, so you can do everything possible to try and get some momentum behind this kick. Starts well back in the centre square. Darcy Byrne-Jones, last year's best and fairest for the Power. Slow run-up. Got barely any power behind that. And in the goal scorer, it's brought to ground. No score on the stroke of three-quarter time. It is the Power leading by 15 points in a very important game for both sides. A top 8 clash. The Power 1-4 against top 8 teams. At the moment, they're leading heading into the final break. 10-6-66 to 7-9-51. The goal scorers at three-quarter time. For the Power, 2 to Dixon and Marshall. Singles to Pal Pepper, Houston, Boak, Bergman, Rosie and Farrell. Meanwhile, for the Swans, 2 to Hayward and Papley. Singles to Goulden, Franklin and Parker. So after leading by 6 at quarter time, that's Sydney. It's been all Port Adelaide since then. Led by 4 at the major break and now 15 heading into the final term. It's great to have your company on Grandstand AFL. Following this contest, we'll be headed over to Melbourne in the MCG. The Bombers up against the Demons. We'll preview that very shortly with Corbin Middlemass. But for now, on ABC Radio, ABC News Radio and ABC Sport Digital, this is Grandstand AFL.
What matters to you?
Justice. Family. Weather.
The region.
Safety.
What affects you?
Climate. Extinction. Bushfire. Violence. Protest. Water. Over the road.
What inspires you?
Sport. Results. Rescue. Goals. Space. Future. Country. Laughter.
Stories matter. Trust matters. What matters is you. And what matters to you matters to us. ABC News. On your TV, radio, iView or the ABC News app.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
McCartan tries to push it forward for the Swans, but Amon's there to cut it off. Hand pass under pressure, rolls towards Motlop. In the tackle from Cunningham, still got it away. Coming through Farrell, off to Rosie, then Boak from 45, just threw it on the boot out of nowhere. Travis Boak. Still contested in the left back pocket for the Swans. Florent gets boot to ball and hits up Bergman. 45 from goal, messy football from Sydney. Bergman comes in, loads up from 48. Great goal from the Rook. Tom Papley has two already for the evening. This one will test him. Tight angle, it's a barrel across the goal face and marks. 15 out from goal by Luke Parker. Around comes Parker, plays on and curls it through. Jonas inbound to Frederick. At left half forward, back into the 50, he goes. Contest there, Marshall somehow. No pressure at the front of the pack. Takes it on the chest. And start his run up from 45, kicks from 30. Todd Marshall's got two.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
A 3-goal to 1/3 term for the Power sees them leading heading into the final quarter by 15 points. 10-6-66 to the Swans, 7-9-51. Sydney leading in the early stages of this contest. It's been all Port Adelaide since then. Lance Franklin also kicking his 970th goal to equal Jack Titus in the sixth overall in the AFL-VFL goal standings. It's Port Adelaide up against Sydney here at the Adelaide Oval in round 15. Earlier today, Fremantle defeating Collingwood by 12 points. North Melbourne defeating Gold Coast by 9 points. And coming up next, you're all headed to the MCG. It's the Bombers up against Melbourne. And waiting there to preview it for us all is Corbin Middlemass. Corby.
Thanks, Aaron. Standalone Saturday night footy. It's around 11 degrees, getting down to 9. There are showers forecast, but not until after the final siren, fingers crossed. The Bombers, 6 and 7. A lot of people impressed with what they've been able to do. They're coming off a victory over Hawthorn last Sunday down at York Park, while Melbourne have had the week off to think about their humiliating loss to Collingwood on the Queen's birthday blockbuster. They've made a couple of changes. Jack Viney's back from injury. Nathan Jones is going to be the medical sub. Out goes Chandler and Wiedemann. While for Essendon, Alec Waterman's back. David Zaharakis is going to be the sub. So a couple of veterans in the sub positions. Cutler and Carl are the two outs for the Bombers. It's all coming up next. I'll be calling the action alongside Tony Armstrong. Jess Webster will be on the boundary. Brendan Goddard and Brett Delidio for the full call next. Aaron, the Bombers and the D's on Grandstand AFL.
Looking forward to it, Corbs. Thanks for the preview there. Here at the Adelaide Oval, it is the Power leading Sydney by 15 points. The text line 0437 774 774. Completely agree with a text from Mike in Kyneton who says Lance Franklin wasn't about flags at Sydney. He says, I had my doubts at first about what he can do for the young blokes, but he's an inspiration to all of them, and watch the genuine joy he shows when a young Swan kicks a goal. You can't buy that, and I completely agree that Franklin was there as a marquee player and also as a leader, I guess, at the Swans. And
still got him to a grand final, though.
Yeah, he has been successful, even though they haven't won a flag. Scott Camporelli, Stephen Williams, your experts. Quick preview heading into the final quarter.
Well, it wasn't a lift, sorry, Scotty, from those Port mids. We talked about it at half-time. Boat come out and had 12. Wines had 9, so they were the two that probably had lowered their colours a bit in that first quarter. I'm sure Ken Hinkley asked for a big effort, and they certainly produced.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Steve. Couldn't agree more. And, you know, from a clearance point of view, they had their colours lowered in that first half. They responded with 12-3 that quarter, so they got field position. That allowed them to keep the ball in their front half, have re-entries, had 15 inside 50s, 3 goals too. All 3 of those goals were for interception through that middle of that attacking mid part of the ground, which is, we know that's the modern day game. It's play the game in your front half, keep the ball locked in there and see if you can have re-entries and put the opposition's defenders under pressure.
Shane from Currans Hill has texted in saying, hi everybody, great call. Heaney needs to score a goal from my multi. Come on, Isaac. It has been a bit quiet tonight, Isaac, but we'll ride it with you.
Don't go there, Isaac. Aaron lost his multi last night too.
Port Adelaide by 15 points in the middle. It's tapped down straight towards Mills, who's wrapped up in a tackle. Ball up to come. So overall, in terms of the key stats, Mills has 24 for the Swans. Ollie Wines with 23 for the Power. In the reset, McInerney gets a clearance for Sydney, just barrels it up towards the 50. Aliir just sprinting out of the defensive arc, gathers it off the bounce, kicks it up towards centre half forward. Williams brings it to ground in the contest. Georgiades tries to soccer it to his advantage on the eastern side. Lloyd's right behind him, wraps him up in the tackle. Ball rolls over the boundary line to be tossed back in.
We haven't talked about preparation. Obviously, we saw Collingwood come in after a crap preparation and win. The Cats did it. Sydney are right in the game, so maybe a lot of that preparation that the players talk about is a bit in the head.
Well, Sydney, of course, over and back in a day. That's why the change has been made to the timing of this game. It was supposed to be under lights tonight. Meanwhile, out of the ruck contest, Heaney tackled the ground, receives or gives away the free kick. Travis Boak received it, sent it long inside 50. Georgiades almost took the mark. There was a hand pass in there from Brand. It falls in the end to Williams for Port Adelaide. Sets it up 25 from goal. It's punched forward by Port Adelaide. Dawson took it towards the boundary line for the Swans. And it's still in play, though, in that forward pocket for Adelaide. Williams got a hand pass out towards Amon, and he was carried across the line by Florent. Just had the glasses on the Power grouping at three-quarter time. Ken Hinkley making a point to go and speak to Charlie Dixon and also to Marshall, especially Dixon, of course, who spent the last few minutes on the bench being assessed. He's in this ruck contest now.
So Dixon against Hickey. Dixon does win it down, looking for Wines. He fumbled and would have had a chance on goal had he gathered. Straight up and down his kick goes. Marshall spoils it down, looking for Pal Pepper. Heaney intercepts and soccers off the ground. Aliir's there to try and intercept under pressure. Does enough to get it to Burne-Jones. The Power now heading back towards centre half forward. Sitting underneath it, Dawson. Motlop comes to try and provide some advantage for the Power. Soccers it off the deck, rolling towards the scoreboard pocket. Georgiades running out up against Brand, trying to pick it up under pressure. He can't do so. The Swans have numbers. Hickey gets it out wide. Lloyd can clear it towards left half back. And a juggling mark taken at the back by McInerney. He receives it for the Swans.
Well, McInerney had a long diagonal kick available to him. Instead, he went short out towards the boundary to Hewitt. Hand pass forward straight away from the mark. Gave it off to Dawson down to half forward. Hayward going back with the ball, couldn't take it. Picked up by Jonas for Port Adelaide, gave it to Aliir. Back towards centre wing, and Dawson came over the top of Leanett and knocked it over the boundary line on the eastern side of the ground. Score check. It's Port Adelaide 10-6-66. Sydney 7-9-51. Sydney led by 6 points at quarter time. Port has taken over since then. They led by 4 at half time and 15 at three-quarter time.
Toss back in. Lycett taps it down. Bounces towards Pal Pepper, who couldn't pick it up cleanly. Park is brought down in the tackle. Got boot to ball. Went its way towards Bergman. Oh, he didn't get boot to ball. It's coming back for a free kick. Carl Amon to receive it for the Power. Just forward of right half back for them.
First goal on this last quarter is massive too, isn't it? You know, Sydney will get it. They're right back in the contest. If Port get it, it starts to become pretty tough.
Amon centres his kick to Burton. Still on that eastern side. He'll go further wide. Looked for Bergman. He could have taken it. Had a fumble in the air. Parker comes now for the Swans. Manages to get it to Goulden, then back to Heaney. Kicks into the 50. Aliir's coming across. Can't get there in time. Franklin gathers off the ground. Throws it on the left. It's bouncing towards goal. Lance Franklin. Goal number 971. Comes from a play of pure brilliance. The greatest forward cements his status as a future Hall of Famer. He is outright sixth in the overall goals tally. He overtakes Jack Titus. Goal number 971 for Lance Franklin. 2 for the evening. And the Swans now down by 9 points. 10-6-66. Plays 8-9-57.
Well, not bad for a 34-year-old. He's like a cat, isn't he? He fell over, picked up, accelerated, and then rolled on his left foot and skidded it through. What a player. Yeah. He's great to watch, isn't he?
Another turnover goal, wasn't it? The mistake by Bergman dropped the easy mark, and he paid the ultimate price.
Almost to distract from that goal from Franklin. They've put up the official tally of just over 29,000 here to watch Port Adelaide tonight. And they go forward from the contest in the centre of the ground through Boak. It's picked up. McCartan tried to clear the area for the Swans, but only as far as Houston. took the mark, left half forward. About 45 from goal, and that's certainly within the capabilities of Dan Houston.
Good pressure by those Port forwards. Just once again, we've seen Port a number of times mark the ball from that quick dump kick out of their 50 by the Swans.
Just possession 15 for Houston tonight. 3 goals, 4 on the season coming into this, and made a liar of me. Didn't quite get the distance and was knocked through for the minor score.
Free kick, Crossy.
Oh, in fact, it was a free kick, so it'll go to the Swans. Hence, no crowd support for that. McInerney will take the free kick.
Definitely wasn't Port's free kick.
No.
McInerney out a defensive 50. Dawson coming across, brought it to ground, but Boak was right there. Kicks around the body, back where it came from. Dixon only had one arm available and nearly brought it in. The fall of the ball, the Swans just trying to gather it under pressure. Eventually Cunningham can. Throws it on the boot in the scoreboard pocket. Out of defensive 50 he goes. Dawson brings it to ground, trying to favour Heaney, who'll let it roll over the boundary line to be tossed back in on the eastern side. So it is Port Adelaide up by 9 points. 10-6-66 to 8-9-57. And just on the fly and fly out as well for the Swans. The teams that have done it the past few weeks have won, so they can't claim it's a massive disadvantage. It's certainly not helpful, but...
How about the fact they're coming off a bye? Maybe they've got a little bit more run in them. We'll wait and see. Ball comes off the ruck contest, finds its way to Farrell, across the body into the forward pocket again for Port Adelaide. Brand got it, slipped the hand pass wide for Lloyd, fumbled it towards the boundary. Coming in there was Hewitt, and Motlop just pushes him across. So it's about a 45 around from the goal face, and that eastern pocket near the old scoreboard, looking magnificent as usual up there. Magnificent for Port Adelaide fans, that's for sure. 9-point lead.
Toss back in. Hickey got rid of Lycett in the contest, but didn't get a clean tap away. The Swans still managed to clear it. Bouncing ball towards the eastern side. Boundary throw in to come as it carries over the boundary line, closer to centre wing. We only had the 1 goal so far in this final quarter through Lance Franklin, goal number 971. 7 minutes gone in the fourth quarter with the Power up by 9. The text line, if you'd like to get in touch, 0437 774 774. Toss back in. Lycett in front position, wins it down. The Swans are there to swarm, though. Parker picks it up. Hand pass further wide to Heaney. Under pressure, he turns it over. Straight to Leanett. Spins around on the boundary line. Sends it back down that eastern wing. There's a free kick downfield. Leanett was pushed after the fact. The Power to receive it short of right half forward.
Lucky they didn't give a 50 away then, too. The Swans just punched the ball away. We've seen that paid before. Dylan Williams would be pretty happy, though, to get on the end of that one.
The first gamer puts it inside 50. 25 from goal. Big pack forms. Comes to ground. Boy, they got bowled over in that pack as well. Rosie slipped a hand pass wide. Hewitt came through. Flicked a hand pass forward for the Swans. Fumbled by Heaney. Rowbottom made a tackle. Franklin picked it up. Whack, he got taken. Slipped the hand pass though for Rowbottom. They're just muscling it forward, the Swans. They've got it to the front half of the centre square. Big clash. Down goes McKenzie for Port Adelaide. Didn't catch who the Swan was. We'll come back to that ball on centre wing. Hewitt picked it up. Gave it to Franklin. Off to McInerney. Kicks it long towards the 50. Inside 50 mark, almost taken by Papley. Ball on the ground. Comes towards Houston. Belts it outside the 50. It's going to come back in the tackle. Willem Drew taken down. Meanwhile, McKenzie is in a lot of strife with a shoulder for Port Adelaide. Doctor and trainer with him.
It's like a bit more of a collarbone. His whole grabbing that sort of that clavicle region there. But Hayward was the other player, Crossy.
Yep. You see it now on the replay, and just both players protecting themselves, and McKenzie coming off worse for wear, and in fact coming off the ground.
Meanwhile, Lycett got it down towards Palpeppo, who cleared defensive 50 for Port. The Swans can send it straight back in though. Great kick coming in, hits up Isaac Heaney. 45 from goal, tight angle to the left. Great hit up there.
And in all that, Port Adelaide was down a defender, of course, in that passage because McKenzie was being taken off the ground.
It doesn't matter, Crossy, because Shane's multi's on the line here. Isaac Heaney with a shot on goal. He'll bring it down to within 3 points as well for Sydney as Trent McKenzie gets checked out on the bench. No injuries so far tonight, but this could result in a sub. Heaney comes in, kicks from 48. It's an errant kick and right across the face as well. Just snuck through for a minor score on the right-hand side. 8-point game now. Port Adelaide 10-6-66. The Swans 8-10-58. Mackenzie looks in a lot of strife down there, maybe getting subbed out for Sam Mays shortly.
Burton brings the ball in, plays on, goes out that eastern side with a kick for Port Adelaide. Dixon, middle of the pack, couldn't take it. Kennedy picks it up, slipped it to Mills. Then he gave it to Hewitt, inside 50 for the lead of Franklin. Took in the chest mark. Aaliyah just couldn't get there with enough pressure. And the big man will have the big shot. Very important goal. He's going for his third of the night. 10.5 minutes into this final quarter. And the Swans are trailing by 8 points.
Really nice work away from that clearance, wasn't it? George Hewitt was the player that finished with the ball and just had some real poise just to put it out in front of Buddy, and he didn't let him down.
So, Buddy Franklin, always a little bit dicey from the set shot. He's straight out in front. He'll have to kick at 45. He slipped with his plantar foot and curled it to the right slightly, hit the post. You can tell that because the Port fans very delighted. So minor score, 7 the margin in favour of Port Adelaide.
Aaron Bryans and Neil Cross with you alongside Scott Camporelli. Stephen Williams, 7-point game as Ryan Burton heads out to right half back. Contest awaits there. Drew was front and square. Hand pass didn't favour Wines, who did enough. Got it to Marshall. The power are out here. Farrell at the back. Barrels it to the 50. One-on-ones there. Rosie up against Cunningham. Cunningham taps it, looking for Florent. He's under pressure now. Houston comes. Hands it back to Rosie. Run down from behind and drops it. Free kick will go to Sydney in defensive 50.
Good pressure by Sydney. Real good pressure. Got back to help with that outnumber there, and Rosie turned back into traffic, holding the ball.
Errol Goulden got him and kicks out towards the scoreboard pocket. Finds Brand.
Brand just holds up and goes back into the corridor in front of the goals to Cunningham. Cunningham just settling things down for Sydney, but he's in deep defence. Now he plays on out to that eastern side. He goes with a long ball. Middle of the pack almost comes down for Sydney. It comes down to Dixon. He handed it off to Wines. Wines goes all the way, not quite. Fox came across just at the last minute for Sydney to knock it through for the minor score. Now we're back to an 8-point game in favour of Port Adelaide.
Their first score of the fourth quarter as well. Took 12.5 minutes, up by 8. And the Swans waiting in defensive 50. Mackenzie's still on the bench for the Power. And here comes the clearing kick out towards right half back. Hickey spoils it down. Goulden's waiting there. He's got 2 right on him, and one of the tackles was quite high from Houston. Umpire saw it. Free kick to the Swans at right half back.
Really clumsy. Just no need to grab him high like that. Just had to be a little bit more careful. Let the Swans out of the forward 50 now.
Goulden down towards centre wing, just behind it, taken by Bell. Oh, he's looking inside. Eventually forced to go outside to row bottom near the boundary line, just not far ahead of the interchange gates on this broadcast side. Down the line he goes. Gee, that had to be a pinpoint pass between 3 Port Adelaide players. Kennedy took the mark on his chest. 60 from goal. Sydney methodical at the moment. Methodical and trailing by 8 points. Kennedy sends a 25 from goal. Ball off hands. Byrne-Jones with a clearance. Just dumped it outside 50. Aaliyah controlled it pretty well and then picked up by Farrell. He bombs it back towards centre wing. Rampy takes the mark away from Dixon, who slipped over.
Sends it back into the 50 for the Swans. Does a Rampy. Lice it with the double fist. Didn't work well for the Power. Goulden in the right forward pocket. Somehow soccers it centrally, but works for Jonas. Franklin gets him though. Massive rundown from Lance Franklin. Jonas just cruising, trying to get out of defensive 50. Lance Franklin hunted him down. He wastes little time as well. Plays on. Lance Franklin kicks his third. And suddenly it's a 2-point game.
Well,
that was brilliant, wasn't it?
I'm not sure what he was thinking, Tommy Jonas. Like, late in the game, there was a handball. I can't remember who it was. Burton. Just a quick give and then block. Franklin's always going to be. They got Papley. They've got these young guys in the forward line. They're going to put pressure on. And he just waltzed out of, like, full-back as if he was down at the Parklands. And well done, Lance Franklin. I mean, 34. You can't beat pure effort, can you? No. And what a great message to, like, the younger players of the Sydney Swans about how he goes about it.
Yeah, when a superstar that is that age is willing to do that.
That's a game-winning tackle, isn't it?
And we just saw Ken up on the screen. He did the horse lawnmower. He had the hand over the mouth. You could see he was quite angry.
Back in the middle. Port Adelaide through. Boak just can't get it clear. Centre clearance yet to come. Ball on the ground. Picked up by Bergman for Port Adelaide out in the eastern side of the centre square. They turn it over though. It's come to Bell for Sydney and then off to Dawson. Well, he skids a pass inside 50. Lean it, takes it towards the boundary line. Flipped up a hand pass to Burn-Jones who clears the area. 2-on-1. Parker over the top. Takes a screamer of a mark straight off to Dawson. He's on the boundary, but he is on his natural foot. His left foot inside 50. Or Hayward could have taken it, dropped it. Ball towards the boundary now. Port Adelaide have numbers. Frederick's one of them. Flips it up and Lean it again will clear the area.
Heads back towards right half back. The Swans again with numbers, crunching the pack. Rosie just coming through though. Gathers clean, hand pass to Aaliyah, back to Rosie, kicked it over his head towards the boundary line. The Swans want deliberate, they're not going to get it. Boundary throw in to come. Big news out of the power camp. Trent McKenzie has officially been subbed, which means Sam Mays is into the game for the power.
They just look a bit panicky at the moment,
They
Paul,
do,
don't they?
yeah.
They just look like they've lost control.
Ball back into play. Sydney coming hard at Port Adelaide. And in the bottom of the pack, Boak gave away a free kick. Just a high shot on Parker. So the hard nut for Sydney. Around on the right foot, just booms it long. It's 2-on-1 back there. And Jonas took his man Hayward away from the ball. Houston with the easiest of intercept marks.
The power by 2 points. Approaching the 17-minute mark of the final quarter at the Adelaide Oval. Houston clears the 50. Fox coming through, could have taken it, missed. And the power are away now. Georgiades hand pass out wide. Boat gets it forward, out towards Marshall, who couldn't take it. Mays trying to assist, but he couldn't get there. Boundary throw in to come. Eastern side, Port Adelaide really had a run there and didn't capitalise. Still up by 2 though.
They're going to have to score, aren't they, Port Adelaide? They're not going to be able to hang on to this. Sydney looked like they've got a lot of run in their legs, so Port have to find a way to kick a goal.
Off the pack, he comes to row bottom for Sydney. Around the corner he goes to half forward. Ball comes off the hands. Franklin, one of the Sydney players, trying to knock it forward. Bell then thumped it inside 50. Does it sit for Papley? It does now. Can he get around Frederick? He's pushed him off. He's in the right forward pocket and under pressure kicks it out on the full. Not quite. In any case, it's marked comfortably by Burn-Jones for Port Adelaide.
Played it well, Fredericks, didn't he? He's got all the tricks to Tom Papley to get round him, but he played it very well.
Burn-Jones heads up towards left half back. Georgiades in the pack, couldn't take it. Mays wraps up Lloyd, gets a hand pass away for the Swans. Amon off the bounce there to intercept. He's tackled over the boundary line. Fans wanted in the back. Fox was right on top of him. Boundary throw in to come at right half forward. So Sydney keep surging. Lance Franklin with the only 2 goals of this final quarter, and they're down by 2.
Waiting for that ball to come back into play. Now it'll be Marshall against Amadi, who knocks it down. Amadi. Sydney have ball on hand just momentarily. Now Rowbottom picks it up. He's surrounded, lost it. Umpire called play on. Another big tackle made. They still want the free kick. The crowd, they're not going to get it. With the man slung to ground that time by Mays. It was McInerney who eventually got up. Umpire going to throw it up. Coming late into the scene off the interchange bench is Lycett, and he tapped it down beautifully for Marshall. Had a fumble, then he gave it to Boak. Off the left foot, sends it high down the line. Heaney should take it and does. Intercept mark for the Swan.
Kicks centrally. Hits up Mills. Thought about going inside, played on and stepped off his line. He's got 2 power men on him. Somehow got a hand pass away. The Swans regroup. Cunningham to Lloyd. Then further wide, finds Rampy. Running through the eastern side. Flat kick up to left half forward. Bell's unopposed out there. Takes the chest mark. Jordan Bell. Still too far to score. Runs around Frederick. Heads to the left forward pocket for the Swans. Hayward again. Drops a chest mark. Regathers though. Runs into the left forward pocket. Hands it to Franklin. Runs into the open goal. Lance Franklin. He's got 4. And Sydney are in front. Time on in the 4th quarter. Franklin is carrying this side in a historical game for him.
Well, it was at the half-back here for Sydney. No one could lay a glove on Mills. He drew a crowd, and then what happened is Bergman pressed from the fat side, which is the cardinal sin, Steve. Pressed the ground, gave him an outnumber, which then the ball shifted down the ground. Then it was just Hayward who won a contest ahead of the ball. And, geez, didn't he accelerate?
Yeah.
I mean, he was clean. He took, can't see it, Houston on, and Franklin just waltzed into an easy goal.
The Swans now by 4 points. 10-11-71 to 10-7-67. Time on in the fourth. Scott Camporelli, Stephen Williams, your experts, alongside myself, Aaron Bryans and Neil Cross.
Now the gauntlet's been thrown down to Port Adelaide. They've got their best clearance players in the middle, so what can they do?
5 lead changes in this match. Swans with the latest. Out of the middle, they'll get it through. Parker had a chance to clear the ball from the middle, had a fresh air at the ball. Now it's come to Burne-Jones for Port Adelaide. Out to that eastern side wing. Williams just knocks it down into the path of Boak, but he couldn't take it. Picked up by Leanett. He goes down towards half forward. Contest there involving Motlop and Fox, who came away with the ball for Sydney. Inboard with a kick was good to Parker. He's come alive in this last quarter.
They've got a spare one ahead of the ball. Papley's a spare ahead of the ball here.
Hands it to Mills, then Hewitt heads towards the 50, was over the head of Papley. Franklin comes across, knocks it to ground. Papley tries to gather, he can't under pressure. Coming to assist is Dawson. Aaliyah wraps him up, somehow gets a hand pass to Franklin. Goulden's run down. Drew gets him, ball inside attacking 50, still for Sydney. The Power have numbers waiting back. Lycett's kick was awful though. Straight to Brand, underground hand pass. Hewitt's wrapped up by Rosie. He can't dispose of it. No free kicks, the whistle's been put away. The Power get it though. Winds to Drew, he's caught in the tackle. Somehow got boots a ball to Boak. Spins around in the centre square. Flat kick to centre half forward, works for Williams. He wants to settle things down, but everyone's flooding back. The first gamer needs to move. Kicks it into the 50, a 2-on-2 there. Nearly taken by Lloyd. Ricochets down to Mays. The sub just shrivels it through. Sam Mays from 25 out makes a big impact. The medical sub strikes and the Power are back in front by 2. 11-7-73 plays 10-11-71. We've travelled 22 minutes in the final term on Grandstand AFL.
Oh, take your hat off Travis Boak.
Travis Boak again, yeah.
He's had 20 possessions in this second half. He was well held. He had 7 to half time. But it was just his composure there, just to lower his eyes. He didn't bomb the ball. Even though it was even numbers ahead of the ball, he saw Williams, lowered his eyes, hit that kick up. Then they went into space where it was Motlop and Mays. 2v2, not traditional key forwards, but it was just a 2v2 contest, and Mays was there and onto his left foot.
So, what's going to unfold? We asked that at the beginning of the night. It's still in doubt. Out of the middle, the Swans get a chance for a Hewitt. He gives a hand pass to Parker. Parker barrels the ball inside 50, and Houston takes an intercept mark. Brave stuff from Houston. Stood up strongly. 40 out from his own goal face. He takes his time. Umpire will call on him to play on now. And he goes out to that eastern side and high.
To a contest. Off hands, it will roll towards the boundary line, and McInerney is happy to let it do so. Boundary throw in true centre wing.
3 minutes 45 on the clock for our listeners.
And this is what it comes down to, moments now, doesn't it?
Does.
Moments. Who can be cleaner, who can make good decisions, who's got the composure late in the game.
Travis Boak not around the ball too. I would, if I was a Port Adelaide person, I'd like to have him around these stoppages.
Hickey wins the tap down. It's Port by 2 at the moment. Drew Sockers off the deck for Port Adelaide. Rolling to right half forward. Heavily contested and bounces over the boundary line to be tossed back in. Stephen Williams, Scott Camporelli, your experts to get you through the next 3 minutes and 30 seconds. It's a thrilling finish coming up on Grandstand AFL.
2-point game. Favour of the home side, Port Adelaide. Swans have come here on a fly-in, fly-out mission. Ball comes to the front of the ruck contest. Willem Drew picked it up, gave it to Wines, tumbles the ball inside 50 for the Power. Picked up by McCartan, hand pass to McInerney, put a lot of danger in that one. He's turned it over, it's come to Amon. Amon snapping for goal, and it just swings away at the last moment. 3 points the margin in favour of Port Adelaide at 24, nearly the 25-minute mark. Swans have ball in hand though.
Straight up the middle.
Here you go, the Swans.
Down the corridor, Franklin against Aaliyah, who beats him. Great use of the body by the power backman and the former Swan. Heads out to the eastern side to Lycett, short of right half forward. Hickey will stand the mark. Forward 50's pretty flooded. Lycett points long and sends it that way in the scoreboard pocket. Dixon leads out. He's got 2 on him and decides to tap it over the boundary line to be tossed back in. 25-minute mark. Port lead by 3. 11-8-74 to 10-11-71.
All the numbers are even behind the ball too, so it's around these clearances.
Have to go back to 2016, the last time Port Adelaide lost to the Swans. Off the ruck contest, ball goes across the line again. Port Adelaide happy with that. Fans certainly happy with that. It's in the forward line for Port Adelaide, trapped inside the 50 with a 3-point lead for the Power. As we close in, we've gone through 25, nearly 26 minutes in the last term.
Hickey in front position, taps it down. Drew coming through for the Power, couldn't gather. Boat could. Hand pass to Wines, he's stripped of it. Messy football in the 50. Motlop's got his head over the ball, he can't gather. McInerney tries to do the same. Game of soccer at the moment, 30 out from goal. Motlop finally gets boot to ball, doesn't go too far. Mays again nearly steals one. McInerney strips him of it, gets it back to Cunningham. The Swans through Parker now. Boot to ball under pressure, doesn't go far. Marshall cuts it off. He's run down by Heaney. Hand pass out to Lycett though, from 35 on the tight angle. Stop Lycett! Listen to the home crowd erupt. Scott Lycett makes it at least a 2-goal game. 9 points the lead. Just under 2 minutes remaining. Port Adelaide 12-8-80 to Sydney 10-11-71. What a great kick from the ruckman.
Who said you don't give the ball to ruckman?
Well, he couldn't hit a 20-metre kick. He's taken one step.
No time to think about it.
Yeah, maybe that's the one, Steve. But great finish, well done. But really good pressure. Once again, the forwards have been pretty good tonight ahead of the ball. But off one step, kicks the goal.
12-8-80, plays 10-11-71. What a clash. The 5th-ranked Port Adelaide. They want to place in the top 4, playing Sydney, who are 6th-ranked. Back in the middle. Hickey with a tap down for Sydney. Away comes Mills. Hickey now with the ball. Received the hand pass from Parker. That was a mistake. Turnover. Boat goes to half forward with his kick. Picked up by Fox for Sydney. Back towards the wing the ball goes. It's taken by Boak again. He goes to half forward. Mays dropped what he should have taken. Plays on after the ball. In comes Big Charlie Dixon, turns on his left, didn't like what he saw. Gave it to Amon, chips the ball inside 50. And Sam Mays has ball in hand. 30 seconds to work with. And the substitute can be a settler for Port Adelaide.
Can you be best on ground with only getting 7 possessions in the first half?
Wow.
I think Travis Boak's pressing pretty hard for that. He's had 11 this quarter, and I think 12 or 13 in the third. He's just willed himself. He's been amazing.
Well, I think you can, Steve. I think you can. He has been the difference.
Sam Mays taking all the time available. Now comes in from 45 metres. Starts it on the right post. It's across the face for the minor score. Crowd was up. So Mays kicks the minor score, but here's the situation. 10 points the margin in favour of Port Adelaide. Almost 29 minutes in. There's only about 45 seconds of real playing time left.
Here go the Swans down the corridor. Hayward off hands, gets it to Mills. Short kick forward to Dawson. Under pressure, he spilt the mark. Marshall comes to apply some for the Power. Ricochets out towards Houston, has to wrap up Gordon in the tackle. Wanted the high free kick, the Swanee won't get it. Just outside the 50 for Sydney. Players diving everywhere. Rosie's wrapped up. Ball up to come on the paint of 50. Sydney down by 10 points. Port Adelaide 1-4 against top 8 sides. Here's the reset. Lycett down. Mills spilt it. Hickey gets boot to ball. Straight up into the 50. Heaney's underneath it. The Power have so many back though. Spoiled it towards Parker, who's wrapped up in the tackle. Lycett head over the football, gets a hand pass out to Bergman. Clears it out of the 50. Only as far as Dawson. He's caught in the tackle. It doesn't matter. It's a massive win in the context of their season for Port Adelaide. The Power, with a thrilling finish over a top 8 side, can ease some concerns. They hang on against a defiant Sydney to win by 10 points at the Adelaide Oval in round 15. Port Adelaide 12-9-81 defeats Sydney 10-11-71. The Power spoil a history-making night for Lance Franklin, who moved to 6th in the overall AFL-VFL goals tally, overcoming Jack Titus with 4 goals for the evening to move to 973. They led by 6 at quarter time, the Swans, and it was all the Power from there. A late surge from Franklin kept Sydney in it, but Port Adelaide, through Sam Mays, a late goal from the medical sub with Trent McKenzie off with a collarbone injury, resulted in the Power hitting the front and Scott Lycett sealing it from 30. Port Adelaide, their 10th win of the season, solidify their spot in the 8. It's been great to have your company for the thrilling finish. We'll be with you for the next 5.5 minutes before you head to the MCG. It's the Bombers up against Melbourne there in Grandstand AFL action. The goal scorers here, though, at the Adelaide Oval for the Power: 2 to Marshall and Dixon. Singles to Pau Pepper, Houston, Boak, Bergman, Rosie, Farrell, Lycett, and the medical sub, Sam Mays. Meanwhile, for the Swans, 4 to Lance Franklin, 2 to Will Hayward and Tom Papley. Singles to Goulden and Luke Parker. The Swans were around the mark all night. Port Adelaide are hanging on, which has been something they've really struggled to do throughout the year against top 8 sides. A record of 2-4 now against opposition of that calibre. And now they'll hope that it'll be enough to lock in at least a spot in the top 8. Scott Camporelli, Stephen Williams, your experts, to wrap up what we just witnessed.
Yeah, well, it was a great game of footy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it was great. It was a tough, tight, contested. It was an arm wrestle. Both teams had their opportunities forward to the ball and around the contest. It swung around contested possession and clearance, which we probably thought that going into it, Steve. But, you know, that last quarter, Buddy Franklin, you know, he turned it on. And to be fair, it was really difficult. If you look at the best players on the ground, it's going to be really hard. Your job's going to be hard tonight, Steve, to give the votes. But Travis Boak was enormous that second half. He's had 23 possessions in the second half. He was well held by George Hewitt in the first half. But he responded, and what a great leader he is and has been for that footy club. But, you know, Wines and Boak versus Parker and Mills, that was a really great, fascinating combination to see through the middle of the ground. But I thought Charlie Dixon was outstanding tonight. I thought he competed enormously ahead of the ball. And I know people have got some knockers on him around what he's done this year, but I think the last 3 weeks he's actually stood up in terms of what he's been able to do ahead of the ball. He really held him in the game, probably in that third quarter.
Yeah.
But Mackenzie's obviously looks like he's hurt himself, which is another blow to Port Adelaide in terms of their injury list. We spoke to Tom Cleary this morning on the radio. He looks like he's almost ready to come back, maybe through the sample, but it was always going to be difficult to try and fit them all in through there. But great game by Port Adelaide. They really needed to win that one. It didn't matter by how much, but it just needed to get that 4 points.
And full credit to Sydney. They looked gone, didn't they? Port, I think, 16 points up going into that last quarter, and we thought, you know, first goal, the game's back on, and Sydney were able to get that. And then through Buddy Franklin, he was almost single-handedly turned the game on its head, and a couple of unbelievable efforts. He was able to kick 3 goals, I think, in that last quarter, 4 for the match, and almost, well, he did put Sydney in front. But, yeah, Port were able to show a real bit of fight, which is something Hinkley will be pleased with. And it was Sam Mays that put them in front, and then Scott Lyson finished the game off. So a fantastic game, and full credit to Sydney, but well done, Port.
You're 3-2-1 for the evening in the ABC Footballer of the Year.
Okay, well, I'm giving one vote to Lance Franklin. I just thought, for a guy his age, he finished with 4 goal too, and he gave Sydney a chance to win the game. I gave 2 votes to Callum Mills. I just thought 10 clearances, 30 possessions, 9 inside 50s. He was a real prime mover for the Swans, and I thought Travis Boak, we talked about only 7 in the first half, but he was the reason Port Adelaide won. He was able to get himself back into the game, and we've seen Travis do that a number of times when he's been tagged out of it early, come back. We talked about Ken Hinkley, who pushed him forward, get him back on the ball. He put him back onto the ball. He kicked a goal in the third quarter, and he just kept winning clearances and winning balls. So 3 votes to Travis Boak.
It's a telling sign and a loss when you get 2 of the top 3 vote getters. So Sydney obviously around the mark. And that was a question heading in about where they actually sat in the scheme of things. And I think they've shown tonight that they can easily be a player come September.
Well, as you said, they've beaten Richmond, they've beaten Geelong, and they've beaten Brisbane. So, and most of those away. So they lost disappointingly against Hawthorn 2 weeks ago, but they came back today with a good brand of footy, and they were running over the top of Port Adelaide. But Port found something extra in that last 5 minutes and were able to get over the line.
A great win for the Power. They'll be very pleased after a rough run against some top-tier sides. They've got Hawthorn coming up next away from home. Then Melbourne, a massive game at home in a couple of weeks' time, and St Kilda as well to wrap up the next 3 weeks. Sydney in probably the roughest stretch of their season so far, so they have the Power tonight. They'll play the Eagles next week in Perth. That's not in Perth, that's over at Kardinia Park. And then Western Bulldogs and the Giants as well. So a tough run coming up for them, but could be a season-defining one for them. Port Adelaide winners by 10 points here at the Adelaide Oval. 12-9-81 to 10-11-71. Lance Franklin kicking 4 for the Swans, 2 goals for the Power to Marshall and Dixon. Thanks to Scott Camporelli and Stephen Williams. Thanks to our tech, Paul Brokenshaw. Thanks to Neil Cross. Thanks to Craig Davis back in the studio as well, and to everyone who texted in. Coming up next, it's a big contest over at the MCG. Essendon up against Melbourne with Corbin Middlemass, Tony Armstrong, Brett Delidio, Brendan Goddard and Jess Webster. No late changes for that contest. The medical subs for the Bombers, David Zaharakis; for the Ds, Nathan Jones. Enjoy that as round 15 continues.